Right, street talk this week then. Was it worth the wait, Gemma? You had to go a whole week without watching Corrie this week when you were off on your holly wobbles in Amsterdam and Bruges. So we watched 3 episodes back to back this afternoon. That was the second time we're watching them for me. Well, Monday and Wednesdays at least I saw twice. I had the joy of Fridays saved up for this afternoon.
Did you enjoy it?
Today, Friday's episode, not so good. I'm going to say this wasn't a vintage reek of Coronation Street. There was a lot of summer in it this week, wasn't there? I really thought that last week when she was in Monday's episode and then absent on Wednesday and Friday, I thought we were having a little bit of a summer break. But no, she's back in full force this week, and it feels like they just can't stop showing her. I'm definitely beginning to feel the same way. Well, not beginning, there's no beginning about it. That other people were when they were saying too much feeling on Coronation Street, too much Abby on Coronation Street. Because if there's a character that you don't find particularly engaging or interesting and their storylines don't quite float your boat or tick your boxes or whatever, it can be a bit of a drag and a drain, can't it?
I feel sorry for Summer. It's a really interesting storyline, actually. I think, but they've picked the dullest character. But will this be... I don't think this is going to be the making of her either, because I feel like...
I don't know what could be at the moment. There's so much Summer hate out there on the internet at the moment, and I kind of feel bad in a way, but I know that I am contributing to it. Although I don't say I hate Summer, I just don't... I can't find her character engaging or interesting. And she's there doing her thing, surrounded by other, not particularly interesting, engaging characters. Because you got Summer there, who's just kind of miserable and gormless and making silly decisions and collapsing and being sick every 5 minutes. And then you got Billy just there going, ooh, 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 and wringing his hands and worrying and being blind to what's there in front of his face. You got Aaron, who's, good-looking lad and everything, but he seems to be just there to be good-looking, tall, again, kind of quite dopey, doesn't he? When Glenda went up to Summer and Aaron in the pub the other day and was like, "Oh, you two are made for each other." Like, yes, they are, but not in a good way. They're just dull together, aren't they? I can't find anything exciting about them, unfortunately. And then you got Todd, who's usually great, and Paul. But having them together as the three dads dynamic has never really worked for me, and yeah, it's just not that interesting, I'm afraid. Anyway, with that in mind, that's how we're going to start off with our summer baby storyline. So look forward to that one, everybody. Next up, though, is something that I think is bit more engaging for me, much more engaging for me, I have to say. Maxtremism, Gemma.
Oh, God.
It's turned into the what did I call it last week? I had a good storyline title for this. Spy and gigs. But it's gone a lot deeper than gigs this week.
Michael, there was
entered the pit of extremism.
Very sinister lyrics in that gig.
That was the funniest line.
That was terrible.
It was at Mondays, was it? Or Wednesday, I can't remember. And Peter goes warning David and saying, "Oh, they're a bunch of racists." There were some very sinister lyrics at that gig. And I don't know whether it was the line or just Chris Gascoigne's delivery of it, but it just came across as hilarious.
Work. I'm sorry.
So sinister, those. Anyway, on the whole, I am definitely enjoying that storyline for the time being, so we'll do that one second. After that, we've got the Book of John storyline / To Murderer He Wrote, which managed to shoehorn its way in towards the end there, with Hope turning it back on Sam. Next up, Fiddler on the Roof, new storyline title for this week, because I think that Arnie is a bit of a dodgy geezer, don't you?
No, I love him. I think he's brilliant.
But I think he is fiddling them. I think that he's diddling them and fiddling them and
fiddling.
Yeah, trying to get all their quiddling out of them. So with that one's going to be next. And then if you really found those storylines so far not too engaging, just wait until you hear what we got up number 5. It's the Sean and Lawrence story, where we got a little bit of a mystery about him this week. I just didn't think it was a great mix of stories this week. What can I say?
It was a lot of stories that... Look, I'm enjoying the Max stuff. I think that's great, okay? And I'm also really loving the Don Stape stuff. But, can I just say, we're hearing that there's lots of juicy details. Where are they? I know we've seen them all.
Stuff?
I know we've already seen them live on screen, but I just want a bit more gory detail.
You want to make up some...
I want to read the articles.
Yeah, well, they read a little bit on the serialisation this week, didn't they? But I want to find out some more that he got up to. Anyway, you haven't heard my storyline title for the Lawrence story, because, Gemma, we found out that he was married. Is he still married? He says he's not. It says he's dead, but is he? So this storyline is called Lawfully Wedded. Lawrence, fully wedded. Lawfully wedded. Huh?
No, I don't know.
Don't like that one. Okay, right. Sorry for that one.
So, as we all know, Monday was Halloween.
Yes, that was good.
And I feel like I'm continuously fighting against people that try to claim that it is an American invention that English people have adopted. And I know there was a bit about this, and apparently only racists think this.
Yeah, only Griff realises that it's a Celtic celebration.
It's not, though. There are plenty of traditional, like, especially in Scotland, they've done trick-or-treating. It's not called trick-or-treating, but that kind of thing for Halloween. It's also a pagan stuff. And also, I just want to point out, my family's been celebrating Halloween for like 35 years probably. So
they hadn't discovered America back then.
It's been around a long time. I know, but people say it's an Americanism, like it's just come over. It hasn't.
No.
Can we just get over it, please? Just enjoy ourselves. If somebody comes over here and says, "Hey guys, I've got this new cool thing that's a party that you can do with your friends and have fun," are we going to all sit around and go, "I don't think so, it's not British enough for me"? I don't think so, no.
I know, our listeners
aren't we famous for going around the world collecting stuff we like and bringing it back here anyway? Is Halloween we're not allowed Halloween because it's not in the British Museum or something? Get over yourselves.
I want to know, I think our listeners might want to know, do they do Halloween in Bruges and Amsterdam?
They had a few bits and bobs. We were there in Amsterdam on Monday, and there were some pumpkins carved, and that was quite funny actually.
Do I know this story?
We were wandering along, and one of the things that you will discover if you go to Amsterdam or anywhere in the country, that they don't like to close their curtains, and it's a very, very kind of, they think it's weird that we think it's weird, but you'll be walking around at night and you can just see in everyone's windows, and it's fascinating. I think it's brilliant.
What does Ina Sharples twitch in Amsterdam?
She can't. She sees everything they've got. They say that basically the idea is that they've got nothing to hide, so why would they close their curtains? And also some of it is showing off all their cool stuff, which I can totally relate to because I like showing off my cool stuff too. So anyway.
You like showing off Michael's stuff?
Michael's stuff. Look at this. Do you want to come and get some of this stuff? Get it out of my hair? Right, so on Monday, we were walking around, and it was in the red light district because somebody recommended somewhere that was there.
Did you find any prosies? I mean, sex workers, because that was another good bit in this week's Coronation Street.
I did not like the red light district, but we did like the place we went to was actually really nice, so that was good. But we wondered what.
No, I was just going to ask, was like the red light district like how you imagined that it would be? Because I don't really know what I think it would.
I had a different imagination of it. But I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So there was a bit that we went to, and there was like a dead end. It wasn't really part of the red light district, so it was on the end of it. So we wandered along, and there was nothing there, so we had to turn back around. And I was walking ahead of everybody else and nosing in everyone's windows, because why wouldn't you? And I looked up, and I walked past somebody's house, and it was like an elevated, so it was like half a story above, okay? And I looked in the window, and there was a man sitting on a chair facing away from me with a towel around, like, on his shoulder, but he didn't have a top on.
Yeah.
So I was like, he's come out the shower and he's just sitting in his front room wearing no top. So I was like, Rachel, come and look at this, right? So I called Rachel over to come and look, and she came scurrying over. We both looked up, and since I had seen this man, he'd gone. Instead, standing, looking down at us, was a man all in black with a big, like, clown's evil face mask on.
Okay,
and he looked down at us, and I was like, ah! And then I ran off, and I was like, Charlie Lorraine, come and look at this. And so we all were just staring at him, and he was like going, whoa! And we were like, ah!
Nice. So that was more Halloween than I had.
That was very Halloweeny. I really enjoyed it.
We didn't have any trick-or-treaters at our house
He was having a brilliant time because he was scaring us, and we were like, ooh.
Okay, But as we
I tell you what was
diverged
scary,
away from
the amount of cheese and chips I ate.
they did have a bit of a nod to Halloween on Coronation Street.
I think
this
they
week,
did a good job.
I thought they were some of my favourite bits of the week. So you had Gemma dressed up as was she meant to be like a Harley Quinn or something? I wasn't really sure.
Well,
but she had a.
Here's my other thing about Halloween in the UK versus in America. Halloween in America seems to be an opportunity to dress up in costumes of any sort, which I think is nonsense. If you're going to dress up, you need to be scary. So, the fact that Gemma was dressed up as Harley Quinn with blood on her, correct.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, and she was making all of the clients in the Rovers pick something out of a box of costumes as they walked in, unless you're Adam Barlow for some reason. He managed to get away with it because he looked like a kind of vampire already without anything. But that did lead to probably my favourite scene of the week, or one of them. Just Roy and Brian at the bar. Roy had an arrow through his head. Brian was there dressed up as a mighty pirate. And then in comes somebody from the Rovers with a massive plastic horse's head over them. And he just goes up to the bar, leans on it, and is like, all right, guys. Was it there? Hello, Kevin, or something. And it was the most random, weird scene, but I absolutely loved that, just for the weirdness of it. Kevin standing there with this big floppy horse's head on. So I appreciated that.
I'm only going to accept Kevin wearing a horse's head because I assume it's the horse head from the Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. It's severed just from the bed. And that scene also had that bit where Roy's ordered his orange juice and Gemma says, "Do you want blood orange?" And she kind of says it. I don't know whether it was. She delivers it in a way that was like.
She wasn't convinced of herself.
No. It's like she'd been
that.
saying it all. Yeah, so did I. I don't think she was acting badly. I think it's like I've been saying this to everybody.
I'm spooky today.
And then Roy says, I can't remember. Oh yeah, have you got any sangranello or something? And she says, no, it turns out it was a dodgy kebab. So I thought that
made me laugh. That made me laugh because she's like, how did you know? I thought that was good.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some people hated it.
And it didn't have anything to do with any stories. And it was a nice little reminder that it was Halloween.
And this is the sort of thing that people complain about Corrie doesn't do anymore.
Yes.
Like, what purpose did this serve? Did we get any plot information from it? Apart from the fact that Gemma had a nasty case of sanguinello, but it's cleared up. No. But it added a bit of colour and interest.
It did. Yeah. And the colour was orange. So, we've been putting
Blood orange. I mean, that's what we called the storyline when Tina McIntyre got
killed. We've been putting off talking about the Summer Baby storyline for too long, Gemma. We need to crack on with this A story of the week, and A stands for awful.
Right, one thing I'm just going to say up front about this is that Summer is a kind of dull person, okay, who's unlikable. And unfortunately, although I am actually really interested in this storyline, I feel like we've seen it not that long ago, because we've been doing this podcast for 10 years and we've already discussed a couple of surrogacy story. We had Toya's surrogacy storyline, we've had Izzy and Gary's surrogacy storyline. It's not new. We've had abortion storylines before. Obviously, when you're talking about something as inherently human as, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do with the baby, it's a storyline that's going to get recycled over and over again. Unfortunately, it's fallen on Summer, and so I'm not that interested.
It doesn't seem too long ago since Amy was having her abortion, does it?
Yeah.
What were you saying?
I was just saying that I wouldn't mind it so much, but it feels like it's a bad character to have picked. A story that I feel like we've done before recently enough that I remember it.
Yeah, and the maybe if she had the abortion on Monday's episode, or was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday, wasn't it? Then it'd be like, oh well, it's over now. But no, this is going to run and run, and it's like Coronation Street planned this out a long time ago. I mean, it must have been. Summer's been I can't even get my words out. Summer's been a continual presence on the street, it seems like, throughout the whole of 2022. But it probably isn't the case, but it just feels like it is. They've decided this year is the year of Summer. And I kind of get that, last year when we had the hate crime story with Nina and Seb and Asher and everyone, Summer didn't have a whole lot to do in that one, as far as I remember. So they're saying, oh, well, who's going to be the next teen that we put into the rotation? Okay, let's make this year all about Summer. But And then they planned out this massive thing where she was going to have her eating disorder, and then she's going to get pregnant, and she's going to not go to Oxford and everything. And they had these meticulous plans for her. And then by the time they maybe got some feedback that the viewers aren't particularly interested in this, it's too late because they're going full steam ahead with it. You know, are Coronation Street hearing that people are finding this?
I think they can't help but hear it. I feel very, very bad about how much I am uninterested in Summer as a character. I just feel like it's unfortunate also because a lot of the reason that I found her uninteresting is that it feels as though she's experiencing a lot of medical problems that kind of feel like avoidable. And it feels like victim blaming too. Like, I don't want to ever do that. And she's obviously having a lot of trouble and psychological problems that are exacerbated by her medical conditions. But it's just very hard to feel sympathetic for her.
They're just dumping misery after misery on her,
and it's all biological. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, it would be it's a powerful thing to talk about. And I don't know how much anyone's really gone into in Coronation Street, what a toll having a pregnancy takes on your body. And Summer is kind of primed in that situation to kind of explain that to people because she's going to have to deal with the fact that she's also diabetic at the same time. You know, Dr. Gaddis warning her, you know, this isn't going to be as fun as you think it's going to be, or it's not going to be a cakewalk. And I think a lot of women get duped into thinking that pregnancy, because it's a natural process, is actually fine and you'll be okay. And I don't want to scare people, but you know, cancer's natural too. It doesn't mean that you want to have it. You know, if I just think that women don't get told about some of the horrific things that can happen to you, because also I don't think that medical science is really that developed as far as looking into women's biology. There's really so much but they don't know about how women's bodies work and how hormones work and what happens and how to prevent things from happening to women, because women are seen as the other and men are the default and men don't get pregnant. So we're in a difficult situation here where women's biology is just so misunderstood, and we're in a new millennium and Summer's going to have a lot of trouble ahead of her. Perhaps I'd be interested if they kind of went down that route, but also I think that people won't enjoy watching her being miserable. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to give a character misery, you've got to make us like them first, so that when they encounter all their woes, you kind of say, oh no, not so and so, I really love them, I feel bad that they're going through all of this. And I don't think they built that up enough with Summer. They didn't make her likeable enough before they slung all this at her. And I was able to sit through all of everything that Abby had to go through, for example, and she's been, she was our Weatherfield Waterworks last year, wasn't she? Because I really, really liked Abby, but with Summer, I just like, oh God, I can't. Well, we've done a lot of preambling here, but it's really mean about Summer. Also, just want to say one more thing. Of course, I'm talking about cis men and cis women when I'm talking about biology. Do not want to exclude anybody. Of course, I am talking about that situation. Right. Let's go. Do you want me to do this one? Do you want to? I don't mind doing this if you. Go on then. You tell us what's been. Because I really do feel sympathetic. To Summer's situation. It's just her as a person. And I'm sure Dr. Gaddis feels the same. And also, I really like the way that we got a Dr. Badass shout out on Friday. I know. Where did that start? I don't know. It was surely a fan creation. I'm sure that it was one of these spontaneous things, like how everybody invented the wheel at the same time. I can't remember whether Badass has been mentioned by that name on the show before. I think I've got a feeling that she has been. Yeah. But I'm convinced that it was brilliant. The fans that called her that. And can I just say, also again today, a magnificent hair. I need somebody to make a compilation of all of her appearances, because I'm convinced that every time she appears in the show, she's rocking a different haircut. I just tell you what, it gives me hope. It really gives me hope. When I get to be a badass myself, I'm gonna be able to rock some sweet hair.
You're my badass.
I'm not as developed a badass as the Doctor.
I tell you what, I think that they are developing as a character this week, aren't they? Because it's like, you want me to be in on your secret, Summer? Am I going to be a character?
No, I love this. She's like, Summer, you're putting me in a very difficult position. I'm going to develop into a main character, and I've seen what happens to some of you people. I'd rather just be in it for 20 years as like a side character and get my dough, you know what I mean?
How long has she been in it?
She's been in it a while.
It must be coming up on close to 10 years, because we had Dr. Matt, was not that Matt Carter, who's in classic Coronation Street. What was he even called?
I don't know. Michael.
Dr. Matt, whatever his name was. Oh no, it was Carter. It was Carter, because it's Ramsden in ITV3 at the moment. Dr. Matt Carter was in it for the first few years of the podcast, and then Gaddis has been.
I don't remember.
Yeah. And then Gaddis has been in it for 8-9 years now. Because she does have a first name, it's Susan, but she's still credited as Dr. Gaddis at the end of the episode. So maybe this will be the storyline where we get to
Susan
find
Gaddis.
if this storyline is leading to the revelation of all of Dr. Gaddis's secrets and her private life and everything.
No, I don't want to know.
Maybe it's all Gaddis and Crawshaw, I tell you.
No, it was like the Queen. I preferred when she was mysterious.
Right, go on then.
Right,
what
Monday.
happened this week?
I can't believe we've got... How long are we in?
We're half an hour into the podcast at
I'm
this
sorry,
point.
everybody. Okay, right, we're going to get on with it now. So, Aaron is a bit distracted on Monday, and Kevin's not very sympathetic to him. He keeps checking in. He's worried about his dad.
His poor drunk
Aaron
dad.
goes to see Sam in the factory and says, because didn't his dad, go off the booze?
He ended up in hospital, didn't he? He had his own little
his house
tragedy.
burned down.
Yes.
And he's like, I'll never drink again, maybe. And then
he was told, you should never drink again.
Aaron's found a special brew on the bed, and it's not Halloween themed. No, it's just alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a witch's brew.
Imagine if all the way through it was a misunderstanding where Aaron was trying to tell Summer that his dad is a warlock, and she was like, he can go to rehab for that. He's £10,000.
Tell you what, Gemma, I'd call that joke a brouhaha. Continue.
Okay. He's worried. Summer says, you can go, you sort your dad out. I'm going to go to the clinic and get this termination by myself.
And they do say termination and abortion.
And they
use
it interchangeably.
They do.
Todd gets a text from Summer freaking out. She can't do it by herself. And he's with Sean and George. So he goes off to help her. And Billy is sort of helping Summer pack for this appointment, and he cannot believe that Aaron's not going, but Todd's trying to calm everybody down. So they go to get in the car, and Todd says to Summer, this is all your decision, it's only you that can make this choice, you have to decide yourself. So they wait in the room, and Summer talks to Todd about Aaron's dad and the rehab, and he says, you need to focus on yourself, don't worry about anybody else. And she says, I wish I could speak to Drew about this. And
that's her dad.
That's her dad. And this is apart from...
Her fourth dad.
The other day, her first dad.
Yeah, dad 0.
Yeah.
Although, no, because she said today that she was adopted, didn't she?
Well, I'm just about to get to that.
Go on then.
This is the first time since, excluding the time that she got the letter from him on her birthday, that she's spoken about him since,
Yeah.
She changed heads.
Yeah.
So suddenly he's a really important part of her life. So she's had, so she's had Drew, and I assume Drew had a partner.
Yeah.
But he's gone.
Yeah.
Because, so Drew was the original gay dad plus one, and then you've got Billy, Paul and Sean. No, and Todd. So she's had 5 gay dads and then 1 biological father. So that's 6 dads she's on now.
I know.
And she keeps going she keeps going to Aaron, no, your dad is going to be part of my family soon, so I've got to look after him. It's like, Summer, you're going to be the 7th dad?
Dad collector,
she's just collecting dads. Stop doing it.
So
other people
greedy.
Some people don't have any dads.
She's having a dad binge, isn't she?
She is on a dad binge.
Can't
believe it.
Summer, come on.
Right, okay. Who are you going to purge? There's a lot you could purge on for poor old
I'd purge Paul first, then I'd purge Billy, and I'd leave myself Todd. Because actually, I did think it was quite sweet that she chose Todd to be the one to go to the clinic with her.
Paul's going to punch somebody, and Billy's just going to wring his hands until they come off.
Todd seems to certainly be the most level-headed of them, isn't he? Can you imagine that one day? Billy's just going to be standing there going, oh, with his hands, and then one is just going to disconnect.
And he's just going to be there flobbing it around in the other hand.
No, he's going to have a little screw in the middle of his wrist.
It's like,
put it back on again.
No, that's
and
silly.
it turns out that Billy is one of her robots.
I was created to be your dad. That's what she does. That's what she's into robots for.
Yeah, she's building herself a new
I'm
dad.
going to create a dad robot army.
Maybe the actual Billy died when he fell off the cliff. Ever since then, this has been a robo-dad that Summer created herself.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
That's making sense, yeah.
Okay, right. She goes in to see the nurse, and then they come back home later, and we assume that she's gone ahead with her plan. She's had a termination. She's got some pills she needs to take over the next few days. Billy says thank you to Todd for looking after Summer. On Wednesday, Billy wants Summer to take it easy, but she wants to carry on like normal on her own. And Billy's like, oh, I'm going to unscrew my hands. Billy tells Todd he's worried about how Summer's acting, and Todd says, you need to...
That makes it sound like it. I know you were just saying what I was on my notes there, but I find her acting very poor.
I don't know if she's
I don't know whether she can sustain
enough.
This A storyline.
I think she's okay, Michael. She's doing a really good job. I just want to say Harriet Bibby is doing a really good job.
I think she is as well.
I think she is doing it.
She's got the best material.
But the thing is, though, not every character is going to be likeable, and not every character is going to resonate with you. I was thinking the same thing when Leanne came into the room and she was having to go at Fiz today, and I was like, you've got to have some people there who are gonna be confrontational, don't you?
Yeah.
And not necessarily sweet little.
But I think that Summer's supposed to be likeable, although that's the problem. I think.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you too. This might shock you that some people actually do like
Summer.
Summer
Fans
there
out there.
There are Summer fans.
Apologies if any of you are listening to this.
I don't feel like I need to apologise for this because I want to like Summer. I'm not doing anything wrong by not finding her interesting.
I really want to like Summer because I used to love Summer. I adored old Summer. And there have been periods in new Summer's tenure on Coronation Street where I've kind of liked her as well. I can't think of any off the top of my head at the moment, but I never want to dislike any character. That's the thing. I'd love to like Summer, but... This isn't the right way of going about it.
Todd says, Billy, you need to stop mothering her. You need to be there when she's ready to talk to you. So Summer goes to find Aaron in the garage, and he says, I've looked into the rehab thing, and it's going to cost at least £10,000. This always happens in Coronation Street when someone needs money. They say, it's going to be at least this amount of money. And then whoever they say it to takes that as the maximum they need. That's the minimum. He said at least.
Yeah.
This is for like... a rehab with like a scary matron woman who like beats you in the shower and no lock on your bedroom. You want a 20k one with like your own personalised soap.
I thought you were going to say as soon as anybody on Coronation Street says they need X amounts of money, then
there's just always someone
happens to be able to offer that amount of money. Yeah.
I need £10,000.
Oh, okay then.
No, hang on. You got to let the universe give it to me. We'll leave it for a bit and see what happens. So he's worried about it. He doesn't have £10,000. And Summer also, apparently, part of Drew's letter that she didn't read out was, P.S. there's no cash. Sorry, I didn't leave you anything in the will.
I thought you did.
Also, the one thing about my mum is that she's going to live forever. So don't expect any Granny Spellman cash either.
I thought, and we're only going back a few months now, aren't we, that when Summer turned 18, she did inherit something.
She's probably blown it all on accommodation for Oxford that she never bloody went to. I tell you what, there's probably some foreign student using her facilities right now. She should tell Max. Tell Max about it and they can form a group.
Yeah.
So, Summer meets up with Esther and Mike. They are the Christian family that last week offered to buy her unborn child.
And if you weren't sure whether they're Christian or not, just listen to like any line of their dialogue, because you can't go 5 seconds without one of them saying something along the lines of, oh, our little angel, or oh, you've been in our prayers. Or,
it was meant to be. It was God's plan.
It's
fine. That's how some people talk.
I know, but I've
leave Esther and Michael
many
alone.
times before in the
leave
podcast. They can't seem to make anybody Christian without making them like uber duber Christian.
Religion.
It's like Christians don't talk about it in every single sentence, and they've totally just been making out to look utterly crazy and nutty and bonkers. That's what Christians are like that.
Looks like she's going to go ahead with it, and she's still up the duff. She lied. So they go to a scan, and it's not very clear, but if you watch the scene, they have just had a scan, and Esther's like,
private one.
Esther's like, oh, I'm so excited, we're gonna have your baby. And Mike says, we've got a lawyer, and he says, shut up about it. Maybe the lawyer man was like, it's a lawyer friend of theirs, and maybe they were like, can we ask your advice? And he's like, if it's about the baby, can you shut up, because I don't want to hear it. And they're like, okay, he's told us, we've got to keep it on the down low. Okay.
I would think that their lawyer friend should be Dee Dee. They get her in on this storyline.
Oh, what, baby snatching Dee Dee? Is that what you want to call her now?
Yeah.
So, everyone keep quiet about it, and we'll pay you whatever you need. And someone's like, £10,000 to start with, thank you very much. And they kind of like, their faces drop a little bit. And then she explains it's for Aaron's dad, who's an alcoholic. So they are very sympathetic, obviously. I'm surprised, honestly, they didn't recommend like a Christian camp or something to help him.
Yeah.
Isn't AA a bit religious?
I'm not sure. I've never been.
Or the 10 steps? I don't know. Anyway, Aaron gets summoned to the cafe, and Summer says, I've got the money. I didn't have an abortion. I'm selling the baby. and then she's like, what's wrong, Aaron? You seem upset. What's the problem? He's obviously a bit annoyed. Well, he looks somber, doesn't he? He's in a bit of a between a rock and a hard place here, because he loves his dad and he wants his dad to get better, but he also wasn't really thrilled about the idea of not keeping his child in his family. Okay, yeah, this is I like the kind of dilemma that they're set up with there. I think the scenario is a lot more interesting than the characters that are involved. So he's very shocked, and Summer says it's okay because he's going to get back to normal. And this is going to be a bit of a shock for her when
your dad.
The rehab doesn't work.
I found it weird that whenever Summer mentions Aaron's dad to Aaron, she calls him as Eric rather than saying your dad.
Yeah, your dad. I would never really.
No.
Sometimes I say your dad's name, but I always feel weird when I say it to you.
You don't ever say it to me. You
no,
always call him your dad when you're talking to me.
Yeah, I don't say his name. So yeah, that is weird, because it's a lot of pressure on Eric, Aaron's dad, to sort of know your grandchild's being sold for this one shot in rehab. You've got £10,000. You better not blow it.
Yeah, where does Eric seem to think that this money's coming from?
Because this is awful for him. If he finds out that this has happened, it's probably going to put him back in rehab. Going
to drive him to drink. Yeah.
I'm sure that some people manage to overcome their problems with one round of rehab, but you really shouldn't plan for one and done. I've heard many stories about people that have to go several times. We've heard, just look at Peter's story.
Yeah.
He's had to go back in when he needed to. You shouldn't just view it as a process that's got a definite end to it. When your money from your grandkid runs out, perhaps Aaron should go get a few more women knocked up.
Yeah. Quite a lucrative venture.
Spawn himself a little money grabbing thing. I don't know. Maybe sell your sperm, Aaron. You're quite tall. You might be able to get some money for it.
Yeah, if he puts his photo with it.
Yeah.
So who's this chiseled jaw hunk? I want that to be my baby daddy.
Is that Robert Pattinson?
It's very Robert Pattinson, isn't he?
Right.
He is.
So he's not happy about this, and he says this is going to be really tough on you. Plus, my dad's not your responsibility. You need to give the money back. It feels really grubby. And someone's like, "No, I want more. I want more dads. This is going to be my 8th dad or something." Later on, Summer's still panicking. Also, someone else doesn't know where Summer is, and he needs to find her.
But Billy doesn't know where he is. She is. Summer's
still trying to convince Aaron that this is a good idea, and she wants him to talk to Esther and Mike to see that they're going to be good parents for their child. So they have a meeting in Victoria Gardens, and don't worry, it's been vacated since we had the racist meet up there on Monday that Peter oversaw, so that's fine. It was really sweet how... It was kind of sweet, but also kind of creepy how excited Esther is to see...
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. They're coming across as being really, really full-on creepy. And if I was Aaron, I'd be like, no, actually.
I don't think so. I'm just going to say that I can understand where Esther's coming from. She's tried really hard to have a baby herself, and she can't have one. And then this girl, honestly, if I was Esther, I would kind of feel the same way. Has God brought her... If I truly believe that God has a living presence in my life, and I've struggled to conceive a child, and the Bible's full of stuff about, you know, being fruitful and having a family and sharing your love of God with your family. And then you also have the story of the handmaid, was it Rachel in the Bible, who birthed a child for her mistress who couldn't have one. That's a story in the Bible.
I can't remember.
If I'm Esther and this girl comes to me and says, I'm in a bit of a bind here, but I think you'll look after my baby. If I saw her and I thought, this is all I want in life is a baby and she's going to give me one, I'd be thrilled every time I saw her. I'd give her a big hug and I'd say she was the best person that ever lived.
I'd also maybe consider looking into adoption as well at some point.
There's definitely that, but can I also just say that adoption is a very difficult process and very complicated and expensive. Have you looked into adoption?
No. Is it more than £10,000?
It probably is.
Is it more complicated than selling a baby?
I don't know. I've not sold it many.
Just buying and selling.
Not recently.
Right, go on. Continue.
I'm just saying. I feel for everybody in the story, but I also can understand that there are going to be people that watch Esther giving Summer a big hug, the same way that people got with Toya, saying, "Oh, she's so creepy. She's a baby snatcher." But it's funny how the love of a child is considered to be absolutely pure and wholesome. But as soon as it's not your own child that you birthed yourself, it's somehow creepy. But only if you're a woman, because let's not forget that every single cis man who's had a baby, he didn't birth that baby. It's not creepy that he loves his baby, is it?
No.
Well, I just think women get judged really harshly when anything to do with the babies is involved.
I think Esther is definitely looking the creepier of the two.
She's wholesome. I think she's wholesome. I'm going to say, I totally expect her to turn into a creepy maniac in about 3 months' time.
Well, it all depends on, like, you know, thinking about how far ahead this is going to go. And I was still thinking, oh, maybe this will take us until Britain's Got Talent week when she has the baby. Like, I've got a feeling that Summer's going to want to keep the baby, or maybe she will decide to go through the abortion or something because she can't keep it hidden. And then Esther is going to go utterly nuts when she finds out that she can't have this baby, and also she's probably going to ask for the money back, but it'll be all spent.
It will. She will
by
ask
that
for the money
point.
back. I feel like I can.
Someone will be in her debt.
I feel like this story was written about 100 years ago. You know. I feel like this feels like a very not quintessential, but you know what I mean, like archetypal story that's been told a million times.
Yes.
Because human beings are always the same.
Always having babies.
But we're all human beings are very predictable, aren't they? Everybody in the story is being very predictable, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that because that's what people are like. We all like to pretend that we're all so individual and wonderful, but we're not really.
Also very predictable is Billy loitering around Victoria Gardens, who just happened to be walking past, didn't he, when this secret meeting was taking place.
So this meeting's between Aaron and Summer and Mike and Esther, and obviously they're thrilled that they're going through with it. Summer's just trying to convince Aaron. Aaron's not really happy about it, and Billy's spying on them and is looking a bit worried. So Summer and Aaron go to the pub later, and she's trying to tell him that this is all for the best. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a good thing. But he's convinced, but he's like, how are you going to hide this? You're not going to be able to hide this from Billy for very long. Summer goes home. Billy tells her he saw her with Esther and Mike. She says, I was just telling them about the abortion, but they handled it really well. And Billy's relieved and says, well, you've handled this situation. It was very difficult, but you've done a good job. You were very composed, and I'm proud of you. And she goes to her rooms like, oh no. Also, here's my question. Has she told Esther and Mike to not tell everybody that she's going to have their baby? I thought that Esther and Mike were Billy's best friends like 2 weeks ago.
Well, no, but Esther and Mike are the ones that told her not to tell everybody about it. Because, Mike was the one that says, my lawyer friend says, let's keep this on the down low.
Okay, but what, don't tell your dad you're pregnant? Do you think you can manage it? Do you not think that they'd say something to Billy, though? It's so lovely that God's blessed us with the baby.
I don't know.
Do you see what I'm saying? Anyway, Summer is on Friday a bit sick. She's taken the day off again, and she's getting her insulin pump fitted.
She just doesn't ever work, does she?
No, she's always having the day off. Aaron's very supportive. He goes to see her. She goes to see him at the garage. Gives her a biscuit. She puts it in her pocket. It's a ginger one. It's supposed to help with nausea. Amy and Jacob spying on her, watching her putting
a biscuit in the pocket and then going,
mind your own business. So Summer goes to see Dr. Gaddis, and she tells her that she's still pregnant, and Dr. Gaddis is like, well, You're in for a rough 9 months, my love, because all the stories we've told pregnant women about how great it is are a lie. We can't really do anything about morning sickness, but I will give you a helpful leaflet that tells you to not eat chips. I don't know.
Don't go leaving it in any places that somebody might find, Summer.
She says, if you're sick and you're in the kitchen, you can always vomit in the sink. That's a good helpful tip in here. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And Summer says, oh yeah, everyone's really excited that I've told everyone, so don't worry about that. Then she goes home, she's sick in the sink. And Billy, she's like, oh, that leaflet was actually really good. Billy comes out and...
I know, but people pointed out online, I saw afterwards, and I was looking today, that they didn't run the tap after.
I know, it's gross.
And then Billy goes and makes a cup of tea from the sink that's clearly just coated in sick.
Oh my God. Right, so Billy is concerned because he thinks she's binging and purging again. And she says it's a tummy bug. And then he brings Esther and Mike up and he wants to report them to the police. What about?
Well, no, because he knows that they were interested in doing the baby buying, didn't they? A few weeks ago, I think. Yeah. Tell you what, there should be more of this Summer storyline just so that we understand it a little bit better.
Well, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think he realised, he knew what they were trying to do.
Amy sees Billy later and says, I saw Summer putting a biscuit in her pocket. Imagine, this is the thing, right? How is Summer supposed to live a normal life when people report to her dad she put a biscuit in her pocket and this is enough for them to like call a dad meeting and all confront her? She's got such a bloody hectic life. I feel really bad for her. So she says, no, Aaron tried to get me to eat this biscuit, but I put it in my pocket because I didn't want to upset him. When she gets home, all the dads are there. There's only 3 of them though. Don't worry, it's not all 7. And trying to get asking her if she's got back on her eating disorder, and she says no. Honestly, Todd doesn't believe her. She says I just wasn't hungry and I didn't want to eat a biscuit, and they want her to talk to a doctor, and she says okay, fine, I will. And Billy says I'm coming with you because he has no idea about personal space. So they go to the appointment. Here's a question. How did Summer get 2 appointments in one day for her GP?
This has always been the case at that place, hasn't it?
Really?
Well, this is what Tim had earlier as well, wasn't it? Do you remember in the year when he just wanted that little MOT check on his health?
Right.
And he was able to walk in there.
You're going to have to book 8 weeks in advance and hope that you haven't died of whatever's wrong with you.
Considering the amount of medical emergencies that the Coronation Street characters have, you'd think that must be the same for everyone who lives in Weatherfield. So I don't know why you're not booking your appointments like 3 months in advance. Mm-hmm. But no, you can just walk in there. She's fine.
Anytime, any day.
Well, Billy did say, we'll try and get you an emergency one. Although I don't really get what the emergency was.
She's sick in the sink.
It's got a bit of a tummy bug.
Well, they're worried. They obviously are worried with good reason that she's relapsed. And, yes. I will say eating disorders are actually incredibly dangerous. People don't take them seriously enough. So Dr. Gaddis is like, what are you doing back here? She says, I have a stomach bug.
Wink, wink.
And Dr. Gaddis says, do you mind if I just talk to her alone, Billy, please? And he steps out and then Dr. Gaddis is like, well done. I can't help. What am I supposed to do? And she says, lie to Billy. And she says, I can't, I've got to lie about your pregnancy. And someone says, no. Just say that if they ask you if I've got an eating disorder, just say I don't, which is true. It's just a white lie.
I'm sure wasn't there a story about when Moira was in it where Gaddis said something that she shouldn't have said, or is it more? I'm sure it was either Gaddis or Moira gave away some sort of information. Oh no, didn't she know about Dr. Ali and his she knew about him and his drugs, didn't she, Gaddis? And then did she report him? I can't remember, but I don't know. This is similar.
So she kind of agrees. So Amy and Jacob find Summer and Aaron in the cafe later, and Summer is annoyed at her for snitching. And then she has to rush off because Nina is throwing bacon and it makes her feel sick. And Amy's like, it's like she's still pregnant. And then Aaron's like,
Zoom.
Oh.
That was a really poor
secret.
Scene. Yeah, Amy's saying she's acting like she's nearly pregnant, isn't she? And Aaron just looks utterly gormless and like, I can't hide this, and the camera zoom, and Amy's like, hang on, what's that camera doing zooming in your face? Is she actually pregnant?
They're doing a tight shot of your face. Hang on a minute. So they've realised. Summer comes back from the loo. Amy says, I know you're pregnant. Summer says, don't worry, I'm selling my baby. And Jacob and Amy are like, that's pretty bad. And she says, I can't let Billy know. I have to go ahead with it. And Amy says, well, we might be able to help you. So they've all decided that they're going to move into Toya's old flat together. And Billy's upset. He's worried about the fact that he's done an intervention. She's driving her away. She swears it's not. So he goes and gets her some celebration fish and chips. Someone tells Aaron they need to keep this a secret until Britain's Got Talent week, where it's all going to come out.
Yes. And that was the summer storyline this week. So we finally have somebody new moving into Toya's flat.
Boo!
The latest group of
friends. Bring
friends.
back Imran. Put them back.
Toya, yeah. I mean, I guess it needs to be used by someone, and why not them? I don't know whether it could be for the better that Summer's getting away from Billy, because maybe that's what I'm not enjoying about it, and that she just is utterly smothered by him and Todd. And although, is he going to keep finding his way up there now? I don't know, because it's. Are their flats like connected through the walls? Can he will he be listening up to the wall and hearing what's going on in the flat? I can't just trying to get my head around the geography there. I'm sure they're joined. But the one good thing that has come out of this though is that Amy and Jacob are possibly getting involved, and I do like both of those characters. I think Mulvaney's brilliant as well, and that I don't think either of them have had an awful lot to do this year, have they? They kind of got together at the start of the year and it was all very sweet and everything, but they've been off screen a lot in the last 6 months, so this could be quite good. And I don't think I'm the only one in thinking that they're a good couple. It feels like they're quite popular. So our Coronation Street saying, well, if we put Drippy, Summer and Aaron with the cool couple, is that going to make people like them more? I don't know. And Amy is quite a straight talker, and maybe, I mean, she was the one, she was able to guess within seconds that Summer hadn't had the abortion, which Billy hadn't twigged despite the numerous clues that are being flaunted in front of his face.
I just want to say,
is Amy going to tell Summer some truth that she needs to hear?
I think Billy thinks that she's suffering from some ill effects from the medication.
Yeah, I know, but don't you think? Do you think? How are you feeling about the inclusion of those two in the storyline? Could this make it a bit more tolerable?
They just need Summer and Aaron just need somebody else to talk to, don't they? That aren't each other about the situation. So the fact that these two are going to be there for them to sort of share their thoughts with. Good.
I can't remember whether Amy brought up her pregnancy. She didn't today, did she?
No.
So the fact that Amy a couple of years ago was up the duff herself and she went through with an abortion, I guess that might get brought up. It'd be a bit silly if it wasn't. So it might make Summer kind of think, maybe I don't want to be. I know she's not going to be tied down with a baby or anything. She's getting rid of it to Esther and Mike, but I don't want to go through pregnancy. I don't know. I guess it might get brought up. And also, similar storyline as well. Wasn't Amy sold as a baby or attempted to be sold by Tracy to Roy and Hayley? And now she's being involved in a baby selling storyline of Summer 20 years later.
Interesting.
As you said,
I think
are universal stories of selling and selling kids.
I think it's interesting that we've learned that Summer was adopted, because I always thought that I just assumed that perhaps Drew was had Amy Summer in a conventional way.
I don't know.
When he was younger, I just assumed that he was her biological child, and
Dad.
Yes, and the fact that she's adopted, I think, is another storyline avenue that they might go down with her at some point, because she's going to have to come. Esther and Mike are going to have to at some point decide: is Summer going to be part of this child's life, or is the child ever going to know who her mum is and father is? And what are they going to do? What are Summer and Aaron going to do if they stay together and you have another child who has a full blood brother or sister who doesn't know who they are? Don't children have a right? I don't know if it's a legal right now. I'm pretty sure the laws have been changed that you have a right to discover your parentage. And the other thing to consider is that there are certain biological reasons to have a history of your parents, because we're learning more and more about genetics every day, and they can look at your genetics and say, it's not just, oh, do you have a history in your family of heart disease or something. They can literally look at your DNA now and tell you've inherited this or that.
Yeah.
And I guess they don't need the parents though to look at your DNA. So interesting. It's just something to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is going to go down the route where that Esther and Mike will want their money back. I can't see them keeping hold of this baby.
Well,
in the future.
I can also imagine some, if we want to make Esther and Mike into some kind of evil villains, they might, say that Summer says she wants to keep the baby, and they might sort of turn on her and say, oh, we didn't want you anyway, you're damaged goods, Aaron's got an alcoholic dad and you're diabetic, we don't want a baby from you.
Yeah, I can imagine them turning. But I also think that Aaron might be possibly the one that blabs about the baby sale, because he really seemed like he was getting shoehoorned into this.
Well, he never had
into this.
He never had a opportunity to really say what he thought.
I feel bad for him, and I know that he didn't go along to the appointment at the clinic. I wonder whether, had he gone there, would she have still gone through with the termination? Because it felt like the only reason she changed her mind is because Todd gave her a little bit of a pep talk before she got in the car. So maybe if Aaron had been able to go with her, they wouldn't be in this mess at the moment. But anyway, yeah, she's made the decision, and she's it's perfectly within her rights to do so. But I do feel bad that he's not really been consulted. It's kind of a done deal, and this is what I'm doing with your child, and you can like it or lump it, really, isn't it? So yeah, watch this space, I would say, for Aaron. I think he might change his mind or tell somebody about what's going on. I don't know. Have to wait and see for that one.
We said enough about this.
I think we've talked about this story for the time being. Let's get on to the more interesting story, I would say, the Maxtremism story. Now, there's a bit of an interesting story behind this one anyway, isn't there? Because this was revealed in a press release Thursday before last, wasn't it? It just appeared one night online, Coronation Street, saying, we're doing this extremism story with Max. Yes, when we did the podcast last week, we did know this is where it was going to go.
But it still hasn't gone there yet, so this is actually a bit of a spoiler, but I think it's obvious.
Well, yeah, it's clearly... I don't know much beyond what they've actually said, what's happened on the programme, to be honest, because I only kind of skim-read it, because I didn't want to be spoiled too much. So, yeah, but it is... For whatever reason, this wasn't revealed to the press in the synopses, because we get the synopses sent through every week for the following fortnight, and this story wasn't in it. So when this big announcement came last week, it was a big surprise to me as well. And I just found it very interesting how they only announced this story is happening literally the day before it happened, and it reminded me a little bit of how they did it with the Aiden suicide story, where they kind of made a big thing about this storyline is coming up soon. Look at us, this is a big, interesting and important issue story. And I don't know why they've done this particularly, but it certainly seems to be something that Coronation Street wants to have as the next big storyline.
From bits and bobs that I've picked up from actors and people talking about storylines that never happened, I think they've been trying to do something along this line for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think that this has raised its head a few times in the past. There was even something with Katie Joseph's mum.
Yeah.
Chesney's.
Yeah.
There was something. I'm sure that there was something to do with that at one point.
Was there?
Maybe I should have said anything.
No, I don't know.
But I'm pretty sure that this has been on the to-do list, and they've just been waiting for an opportunity to have somebody who they think it's going to make sense the character, the situation, the actor's good enough and strong enough. And I think that this feels like all of those things have come to pass.
Yeah, everything has aligned. The stars have aligned for this one. So let's do the synopsis first, then we'll say what we think about this. There's probably lots to talk about here. So it starts off with a familiar scene of Max getting pushed around by his Prue bullies on the way to school again. And then he heads over to Victoria Gardens, and on his bench, Griff comes along. And this is where he's huffing and puffing, isn't he? And you were watching it this morning. Who's making that noise?
I couldn't work
Griff's
out.
Just like, ooh, and then he's talking about getting a dust in his lungs. I don't know, but anyway, he gets chatting to Max. Oh no, that's not. Sorry, that's a bit later on. It's Spider he talks to first and invites Spider along to this Halloween party. Maybe he wants to dangle him from a fake cobweb or something. Anyway, Spider seems quite interested in the fact that it's going to be a lot of people there. Obviously, as the investigating officer, he's trying to get the inside skinny on what's going on at Racist HQ. This is his perfect chance to get the goss on the local right-wing environmentalists. So later on, Griff overhears Max telling David what happened about the bullying. David's found Max with a bloody lip, and Griff is like, how interesting. And this is when he then goes and finds Max on the bench in Victoria Gardens, gets chatting with him, and is like, oh, you're playing hooky from school, are you? Yeah, school's a load of rubbish. Those teachers, they don't know what they're talking about. And Max is like, yeah, they're all a bunch of meatheads. The one thing that I think that the story is going to struggle to do really well is to, get the sort of the language and the real grubby... real dark side of it in the 8 o'clock.
I'm going to use a word that people probably won't like, but honest. Like, honestly, how do people honestly really talk about these things? And it's not.
Yeah, what are racist Halloween parties actually like? Was it like this one? I don't know. But anyway, Max is like, oh yes, teachers, oh they're a load of rubbish, aren't they? And then Peter comes out of the co-op and he sees them chatting together, looks a little bit concerned. Honestly, if I was a character on Coronation Street, I'd really reconsider my choice of secret meeting spot.
We've had this.
Because it's pretty guaranteed that somebody who you don't want to hear you is going to walk past when it's happening, isn't it? Anyway, this conversation soon turns to Max's school place and the fact that he wants to go back to Weddy High, but Darian, this refugee, has taken his place first. And Griff's like, oh yeah, they're always taking people's places and everything. And Max is like, oh, I really hate the Prue as well. And Griff says, yeah, I'm not surprised. This is when the two bullies, I can't remember what they're called, they come out of the shop as well. And he's like, oh yeah, what a bunch of idiots they are. They need teaching a lesson. So then we cut back to Spider and Toya, who already is getting massively sidelined in this story, isn't she? But I guess that's part of it. She feels that she's being pushed out because Spider's always doing his undercover stuff. Not that Toya knows that's what it is. So she's in for a nasty shock in the near future, I think. Because she wants to go to this Halloween do, doesn't she? I can't remember what it was that it was supposed to be. And then she has a line saying, oh, whatever it is, I hope it's better than that fiasco that Debbie organised last year. What a nightmare. And I'm like, Toya, are you talking about the big event where sinkholes opened up, where Natasha was shot, where your sister was kidnapped, nearly shot, and a crazed gunman went on the loose, and she's just saying, what a fiasco that was,
Nightmare.
What a nightmare, Toy. I hope this one's better than that. Anyway, she decides to go off to do this on her own, but I don't think she does in the end. That doesn't matter. Anyway, Spider said he's going to this other thing. I can't remember what excuse he comes up with.
He said he had to meet up with his friend, didn't he?
Did he? Maybe I'm probably right. So anyway, Griff goes up to the bullies and pushes them onto the floor, giving them a bit of a taste of their own medicine after they did the same with Max a few weeks ago. And he gets proper rough with him, doesn't he? And he's like pins him down and pretty much leaves him in no doubt that he needs to leave Max alone. So they end up scurrying off at saying, Max, you're dead. And Max is like, oh, crikey, they're not going to be very happy with me at school now. So he's a bit worried that they're going to start coming after him again. And Griff says, don't worry, here's my phone number. You just get in touch with me if you want me to deal with them again. And by the way, I've got a racist. I've got a normal Halloween party going on tonight. Totally normal. You can come along if you want. And although they've only known each other for a few scenes, Max is already, he's in this guy's debt, and it's kind of sweet in a way, because like Max, he's smiling a lot this week, isn't he? He's like, I've got some friends.
He looks like he's in love.
He does a little bit. He's very, very enamoured by this Griff guy. I think it's just because David's not been listening to him or believing him, and he's been quick to suspect Max of various misdemeanours over the past few months, and here comes this guy on the street that seems to be on his wavelength and offering him a bit of companionship. Mm-hmm. And this is how these things work, I think. Mm-hmm. I guess. Anyway, so he's going along to this party tonight. Spider arrives at the party first, and he's there with his costume, isn't he? What did you make of Spider's Halloween costume? Pair of specs. You said, who's he supposed to be? Because when we were watching it this afternoon, that was the second time that I'd seen it, and I was like, you'll see. So Peter Parker, nice idea.
No, it's not, is it?
What?
It's like, it's me, Spider. I'm dressing up like I've got a job reading the papers, but I'm short-sighted, so I've got to wear glasses.
I thought it was a nice idea to have him as Peter Parker. I would have preferred if they'd squeezed Martin into a Spider-Man costume.
I didn't get it. It's crap.
I liked it. I thought it was funny.
I think the guy who didn't have a costume, he should have just said he was Adrian Mole. But maybe that's too old of a reference now.
Because what else did we have? We had somebody was dressed up as a crusader, weren't they?
I thought that was a nice touch.
But then for the other costumes, it's like they couldn't bother. I think the man who was dressed up as one of those felt a bit overdressed, because everyone else was like, I'm just wearing my normal clothes, but with a pumpkin mask over the top, or a skull mask, or I'm going to have some devil horns on. But anyway,
not everybody's Heidi Klum, Michael.
I know. Oh yeah, she dressed up as a giant worm. Well, Gemma, I just warn you now. Well, not warn you. I titillate you and tantalise you. Part of this week's cabin section on the podcast is going to be our annual "What did Coronation Street stars dress up was for Halloween parties?"
I can't wait.
Year.
I haven't seen this because I've not been in the country.
No. Yeah, they've just been walking down the street here. You missed them. Anyway, Spider turns up at this party, and before long, Griff has brought Max in as well, and is telling all his racist mates what a great lad Max is.
Hang on a minute. We've got no evidence yet that these people are racist, and it was a racist Halloween party.
But we know, don't we? We now know. And Max is just like really enjoying it, because he's like got Griff's arm around his shoulder, and Griff's saying, "Oh, you know what? If kids like Max in the future, then the future's all right and everything." I thought it was very interesting, the dynamic between Max and Spider, because this was one of those rare occasions where you have two characters on the street that shouldn't really know each other. And they don't really know each other very well.
Good job.
They don't have each other's phone numbers in their contacts list or anything, because Spider clearly recognises Max. Max doesn't, I think, recognise Spider straight away. And I just found that incredibly refreshing, really.
Yeah.
Because everyone always seems to know each other. Anyway, maybe it was those glasses that Spider was wearing. That's why I didn't recognise Max so much. It's not his prescription or something. Spider ends up speaking to Max, though, because he's just like, "Oh, yeah, I do know you. You're Max Platt, aren't you?" And he's like, "Oh, my name's Turner, actually." And Griff gives him the history of Turner, saying it was something to do with
lathes,
working a lathe or something.
Of course it is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, carry on.
I don't know this. And anyway, what happens? Oh yeah, this is when David phones up Max. So Griff gets everybody to turn the music down.
You understood why that was brought up, don't you?
Oh, as what?
What do you mean?
Why? What was brought up?
The origin of his surname?
No.
Well, Griff is setting, what's the word? He's kind of setting the sort of foundations for where this storyline's going to go by appealing to Max and sort of talking to him about his heritage.
Oh yeah,
and sort of linking it to, the history.
Good old honest.
Well,
hard labour.
Here's us, our hard-working, honest English northern. We've been here for generations, working the land, breaking our backs. We built this country. You can just imagine this is what he's saying. And then you get somebody like, I've forgotten the kid's name, Darian coming in, and he's the argument's going to be he's leapfrogging, he's jumping over all of the hard work. Your relatives, Griff would say, your family, some of them probably died in the factories trying to earn a crust for you to be here today, and then this guy's coming in and stealing your job. I don't think so.
No, that makes sense.
This is, and it's all very innocuous. It starts off in a very kind of innocent sort of way where you think you should be proud of who you are, and the surname Turner, you should be interested in your family's history and learning about things. You should want to know about the industrial history of the North and be proud of that, but acknowledging some of the awful parts of it too, but not using that as a weapon or a reason to feel like you're so superior to other people.
No, you're right, you're absolutely right. That's it.
I don't know. Well, that's what
I think you're correct. So anyway, David phones up and Griff gets everybody to turn down the volume and everything and be quiet. I think if I was somebody else on this party, I'd be like, no, who's this kid?
Yeah, but again, you know why he's doing that? Because he's creating a group dynamic whereby Max is aligned with them as a and they're all doing him a favour, in inverted commas. They're all helping him to lie to his dad. So Griff has established very early on and very effortlessly that it's them versus Max's family, and that they're all going to do whatever it takes to help Max and protect Max against his family, as though his family are the enemy. And he's done it in such a simple, very, very effective way.
I just thought it was unusual how soon they had been, Max had been in the room, that everybody immediately was like, yeah, you're one of us. And
but how do you know that this wasn't just, as they had not all been primed and knew that this was a new recruit?
No, I guess so. I guess maybe. And so anyway.
And also the other thing about this too is that this is this is going to be a condensed version and a theatrical version of how these things actually play out in real life. It's not going to happen, over a course of weeks or months. It's going to be years of this.
Yeah, and they might do. I mean, because one of the things with the coercive control storyline a couple of years ago was just how long it took them for it to happen. So they might want to be playing the long game with this one. I don't know, but yeah, you're right.
I'm saying,
I think there's going to be a bit of a creative license, possibly, with how quick everything happens. But anyway, so Max is on their side. They're on Max's side. He tells David. What was that? He tells David, I'm an AV club, and Griff is very interested by the fact that Max can make films and everything like that. So it seems like before long he's going to be persuading Max to make some kind of propaganda or something, do you think?
He's going to ask him to make some kind of video, isn't he, about something or other?
Yeah, and it could be one of these things that Max is initially like, what's this? And then he'll say, well, if I thought you were cool, you were one of us.
There you go.
So I think that's definitely going to go down that kind of route. Anyway, Griff and the guys kind of talk to Max about him getting kicked out of school because he spoke out about this prosy working there. Yes. And then this is when they talk about the Celtic origins of Halloween. So there's just lots of little bits kind of dripped in that show their ideologies, I guess.
Well...
What?
The fact that they used, again, it's all been condensed in, but it's all works perfectly. This is exactly how they would do it. So Max feels like he's been victimised because somebody, they say prostitute, and then someone says, "Oh, we've got to call them sex worker now," and so they're setting up again, us versus them, people who use
the woke meisters, as they would put it.
Who try to use words that people say, I actually prefer to be referred to in this way, or, he's setting up a dynamic where it's anyone who tries to be good or politically correct. I can't think of another word, or woke. I can't think of any other ways of describing it than that.
Yeah.
It's them against us.
Yeah.
And you, Max, you understand that they're not working in your best interest, are they? Because you've had brushes with these sorts of people, and no matter what nice words that you've used to describe them, you're still a victim of their actions, and you're suffering, and they're laughing because you've been punished, and they have triumphed over you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so painfully easy to take somebody like Max, who's feeling like they're a victim, and making them feel like they've got an enemy. And it's happened in history in very famous examples, but also in very mundane and it's always a tragic outcome, isn't it?
So this is when they then dress him up as Charlie Chaplin by putting a bit of gaffer tape over his top lip and borrowing somebody's Clockwork Orange hat, and they're like saying, "Oh, don't take your hat off, otherwise people are going to give you funny looks." So he's there, and I thought that was quite chilling when they put that moustache on him. And when I was watching it on my own the other day, I was like, are they dressing up as Hitler? It's like, oh no, it's not. But I thought that was very well done. It was.
Well, again, can I just say they're pushing the boundaries again, aren't they? They're saying they're seeing what he's okay with. They're dangling things in front of him and seeing how far they can push it. And so far, Max has not challenged them on any count.
No, because he's happy to have some companions.
He's in a vulnerable position because he's friendless and alone, and they're giving him companionship and understanding. But also, there's an age gap here too. That is a very significant part of the story, where he feels he's of that age where he's been taught that adults are superior to him and he should listen to them, and they're going to guide him and they're going to help him. You know, we'll get taught that when we're younger, and we look to adults to guide us and help us navigate, especially at this time of his life where he's starting to think about what he's going to be like when he's an adult, because it's very soon for him, you know, basically is an adult, not in a few years' time. And so he's kind of very vulnerable to being influenced like this, and they all know, Griff knows exactly what he's doing. And again, same with Jeff. I don't think he's sat down and decided this. I think he's got a predatory nature that is part of his DNA almost. I think that some people just are very, very good at manipulating. But
also,
and I don't think that you need to know how you're doing it the same way that if you're fantastic at running, you don't need to know how the physics works. You just know that you can do it.
But I do wonder whether, you know, are we going to find out, did this happen to Griff as well? Like, was he brought into this seedy, dark world by somebody when he, 30 years ago?
Well, it's difficult because then you're setting up the question of when does Max turn from a victim into a victimizer? You know, where's the line that you can draw? And it's the same thing with people who have been trafficked or abused or, you know, sexually assaulted as children. Sometimes they can grow up and perpetuate the cycle of abuse. How much are they to blame? How can you break this cycle?
I'm assuming they're not going to try and get any sympathy for Griff in this story.
There might be a throwaway line at the very end before he jumps in a bonfire and kills himself or something. But you know what I mean?
So then
everybody's got a reason. There are no truly evil people in this world.
Yeah,
really.
Something has happened to Griff in the past to make him think this way.
But there are evil
Either
deeds.
It was a person that said something to him, or did he just read that book that he lent Max on Wednesday?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know. But there aren't truly evil people, but there are truly evil deeds. And it's scary to think that how vulnerable we all are to being susceptible to somebody who could take advantage of us when we're in a very vulnerable state, and see what they could make us think and believe. And if you think that you're immune to it, you're probably more susceptible than you think.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how far they push this.
The psychology behind it is terrifying. And I don't want to excuse anybody, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm sympathetic to people. You know, racism. I just feel like there's a lot of complexity here. And it's very interesting how quickly Coronation Street is being, I think, rather clever about showing how this is set up for Max to kind of almost... And I also do wonder, where is Max going to go with this? How far will he fall? Is he going to work out what's happening? Because I don't know.
I'd like to hope not. I want to see them really push the boundaries here. It is maybe going to be difficult to do it in a pre-Watershed slot, but apparently Hollyoaks have had a very similar extremism storyline just recently. I know absolutely nothing about it, but knowing how Hollyoaks is quite good with the issues and with, you know, they've got their finger on the pulse with the youthful audience that maybe sometimes we think Coronation Street is trying to woo and be down with the kids and everything. I'd very much like to think that Max is going to be pushed to doing some very dodgy, dark deeds.
But how far can you redeem somebody?
I think pretty much anybody can be redeemed for anything
in
this
fiction,
show, to be honest.
Especially
fiction. When he's clearly the victim at this point. He's going to see the error of his ways at some point. I do not believe in the slightest that he's going to now become some irredeemable racist. He's going to go down a very dark path. He's going to realise what he's done is wrong, and then he's going to come out and it'll be normal, and maybe he'll have learned a lesson from it all. So if you're going to go down a path, let's see it go properly dark. Let's go full on KO dark here. Come on. Anyway, this is when Peter comes round number 8 and says to David, some sinister lyrics at the band the other day, at the gig the other day, and David's like,
he didn't come around to tell him that.
He just says, I saw Max hanging around with Griff earlier. He's a racist, and he goes to racist gigs and has racist music.
And he sings along.
And he's probably got like racist tattoos and everything.
Yeah,
and David's like, what the hell are you on about, you massive conspiracy nut? I don't believe you, but whatever.
This is a problem with white. I'm speaking for white people. We don't see a lot of this that happens. David's reaction feels very normal and honest to me, because I just wouldn't believe this existed. If somebody came to me and went, your kid's going to a racist gig, I'd be like, what do you mean a racist gig?
I think
people don't sing racist songs in community centres. You're mad. There's no such thing.
The one thing that did
the amount of people that will sit there and tell you there's no such thing as racism, nobody's racist in this country, everything's fine, we're all happy and we'll get along. And it's always white people, because we don't see it, because we're not because I'm not a racist. I don't hang around with racist people, so I don't hear it.
And people aren't racist towards
us.
No,
of course. So we're like so lucky and blessed and privileged, and we don't even realise it. And David is just embodying that kind of blissful ignorance of, what do you mean? Nobody's like that anymore.
The one thing that did strike me as a little bit odd though is how he wasn't more surprised, or just the fact that Max was hanging around with this dude.
I'd be more worried about the fact he was an older man, to be honest. I would find it utterly suspicious to know that my teenage son was hanging around with a man who looks to be in his 40s.
Yeah.
That's not usual.
Especially, after the experience that he had with evil rapey Josh a few years ago.
Thinking he's being groomed or something.
And also, when Sarah Louise was younger, she was groomed by Gary off the internet, wasn't she? Yep. Not Gary Windass, he's a saint. Evil internet Gary. So, I'd have thought that he might be a bit more worried about that. But anyway,
his family is genetically susceptible to grooming.
David's got enough on his plate because his wife's getting unusually large in the belly area, and nobody seems to be realising. Anyway, so
no, he's just thinking, I can sell this baby. Play my cards right. I don't think she's realised that she's pregnant.
Up the duff.
Maybe she'll fall asleep, have the baby without realising it, and I could just take it away and sell it.
Yeah.
At the market.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, Summer was wondering, how am I going to hide my pregnancy from everybody? I think that she should get some tips from Abby, because she did a bang-up job earlier this year, didn't she, of being pregnant and not even realising herself. So, she needs to talk to her. Where is Abby? Somebody, please. She's been in about one episode in the past 4 months.
No wonder Aaron, Tyrone and Kevin are stressed at the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
She's buggered off.
Abby is totally buggered off.
Taking the mick.
Anyway, back to the party. Spider comes along to Max, whips off his moustache and says, you need to stop knocking back the beers, matey. Also, I think it's time that you went home, isn't it? I don't think it's a very good idea you being here. He's like... This was a fly in his ointment, really, wasn't it? He's come here to investigate and take down this bunch of extremist environmentalists, and now Max is here, and he really wants him to go home. And then, of course, Griff comes up to him and says, "Oh, why is that, Spide?" And Spider says, "Oh, well, it's a school night. We need to keep Max on our side. We don't want people getting suspicious about him staying up late at night." And Griff's like, "Yeah, that's a good point. So, Max, you need to be careful. You got a brain in your head. You need to look after it." So Spider offers to take him back home to the street. So Spider returns to Toya. She didn't go to this thing in the end. She just and then she goes and
what thing was it?
What, this party she didn't go to in the end? This thing that's not as bad as the fiasco that Debbie organised.
Oh yeah, year. Was it Scream
I just Squidder Scream.
Squidder Scream.
I don't know. Anyway,
I thought the tickets looked cool.
Anyway, she needs to pop out. Was this when she was cooking a sweet potato
Lovely.
and a sweet potato
like
curry? Yes, fantastic. I don't think I'd enjoy that.
She
has to go out and get some rice. And then when
Just make some bread.
When he's alone in the flat, Spider's boss rings him again, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't stay all night at the party because things were getting a little bit too close to home. I can't deal with it, and I don't want anyone to get hurt neither." So he's finding it very difficult. Max gets home very sneakily, takes a swig of David's beer, which is handily left out on the coffee table there, so that he gets caught.
To hide his breath.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he doesn't want David to.
Well, he comes in, smells his breath, realises there's alcohol he can smell, so he drinks the beer.
And then he says to David, "Oh, well, you're going to tear a strip off me anyway, so I might as well enjoy it."
And I heard this as a tip. I've probably said this on the podcast before. I read this on like Reddit or something. It's such a stupid, like, you know, like they say, life hacks, life tips. If you're in a crash and you're drunk in a car, get out of the car, sit on the side of the road and start drinking and make out that you drank because you were stressed out.
Yeah.
Is it illegal to start drinking immediately after you've had a crash?
I don't know. There's
It
a bit of a loophole you found there.
It literally can't be, can it? How can they...
It would raise a few eyebrows, though.
I think they might be suspicious. I think the best thing is not to drink and drive.
Yeah. David,
that's my life hack.
David is kind of just, he says, "Oh yeah, fine, whatever, you drink it. But by the way, watch yourself around that Griff." That's his parenting done for the evening.
Well, yeah, David's obviously internalised at least one thing today.
Wednesday's episode, Griff finds Max yet again bunking off in Victoria Gardens, which was where all the cool kids hang out, and it says, "Look, you need to be keeping your stepdad sweet by going into school. Yeah, it's all a bit pointless and everything. If it was me, if I were you, I'd do the same as me and enroll in the University of Life as soon as I hit 16. But yeah, do what you can now so that you don't raise suspicion." So again, he's trying to plant the seeds of sneakiness in Max because he's got something good with him here and doesn't want him to. He wants to not raise any suspicion. So Griff is such a party animal. He invites him to another one this evening.
It's not a Halloween one, though.
No, it's a normal one. It's an All Saints Day party. They go. That's the next.
Day of the Dead, isn't it?
Oh, maybe it's both. I'd say it's All Saints. Everybody listens to Never Ever and The Beach. Racists love that. Max tells David that he's going to the library after school today. And David doesn't quite believe him, but he's happy that he seems to be buckling down a little bit. So later on, it's all beers again at Griff's house. And this is when Max is introduced to Lauren, who's Reese's daughter. And Reese is one of the other racists. And I don't think we mentioned this on the podcast last week. I can't remember. But this character's name is Reese Bolton. And that's not the same as Roose Bolton from Game of Thrones. Sure, but he's just as nasty. Did we mention it last week? I can't remember. Sorry if we did. Anyway, they get chatting. So Lauren is this this blonde, beautiful, quite. She very much fits into the role of into the mold of other Corrie slaggy teens, doesn't she?
Michael.
She's a bit rough. She looks like she would maybe drink at the Dog and Gun when she's older. But Max is besotted immediately, and they get kind of chatting, and she's.
Can hear the fireworks going off.
Have they started? Have they?
Yeah.
Griff brings Max this book called "Wake Up and Smell the Lies" and says, "You need to read this. It's all about how the man has tried to pull the wool over our eyes and all the conspiracies are true and stuff." And Max is like, "Oh, that sounds quite interesting." And Lauren says, "Yeah, it's brilliant. Also, I'll bring a DVD along with me next time." And she says I can't remember what she called it, but do you remember what it was called?
No.
But anyway, she says this is this very sad but important film or documentary or whatever, and he's smitten with her already. So he's looking forward to that. Anyway, time for Max to go already. And back home, David and Max are surprised to see Max with his nose in a book. They must see, because it's written in rather large writing, what this book is called, and they don't look suspicious at all, especially after David had said to Peter, "You're a massive conspiracy theorist, you nutcase." And now Max is reading something about it and he's fine with it.
Wasn't the documentary called something like Your Replacement or Your Replaceable?
Replaceable You it was called, and that's not a real thing. And if you Google it, you'll find that it was a Simpsons episode, because that's what happened to me. Anyway, David kind of is still trying to be cool with Max and says, "Oh, I'll read the book myself when you're finished with it." So that's kind of the end of Wednesday's episode. Friday, Max comes into the salon to find David, but only Maria's there, and he says that he wants to borrow a bit of money off of David because he's going out with a friend later, and Maria quite quickly twigs that it's a girl that Max wants to step out with, and she's like, "Well, I'm not going to lend you any from the till." But that's little secret is out. So later on, Max and Lauren are kind of mooching about the street. Then we have Darian come over. Darian the refugee, who we've not seen in a month, I'm going to say, since his first appearance. Yeah, I reckon so. And he's there dressed in his Weathy High uniform, isn't he, after stealing Max's place. And he's like, "Oh, I can lend you some money if you like." Because he says, "Oh, I see that you are there with trying to
get a hottie."
Trying to get a hottie, yeah. And Lauren's there, and she can see, because obviously Lauren's a racist as well, she can see that Max is there with this guy of Asian descent, it looks like, and she comes over and is like, "Oh, that reminds me not to have curry on our chips," and Max is like, "That's a weird thing to say." So he's just there haven't been very many obvious mega clues so far to Max, so he might be forgiven for not picking up on the racist undertones of the group that he's now a member of, but this was the first thing to make him go, "That's a bit weird." So anyway, they go over to Speed Dial themselves later because Max has heard about this job offer that's going there. Basically, Zidane's been poached by some friend who wants his cooking skills down in London.
The West End.
I'll tell you what, when Zidane came into today's episode, I was like, "Oh no, not a Zidane story. This week's dull enough with summer and the roof and everything going on. I could do without there being a Zidane story." But it was good because it was a story to get rid of him for a little bit. And things are basically very stressful for Alia at the bistro later. They're down a waiter.
Zidane's a chef.
Yeah, I can't remember what the reason was for. I think, didn't they say that one of the waiters then went into the kitchen? I don't know. For whatever reason, they're down a member of staff. It's a waiter. Darian happens to be there at Speed Dial, and he says, "Oh, I'll do. I can be a waiter." And then Max, not long afterwards, comes in and says, "Oh, Maria, I saw that you were advertising for a waiter." And it looked like it was going to be another one of those situations where she says, "Oh, sorry, Max, I can't give you the job because of Darian. He got there before you." But in the end, Maria manages to persuade Alia to give the job to both of them. So clearly all of the financial struggles that Speed Dial had been going on through not 2-3 weeks ago are all fine now, and they can afford to employ 2 waiters when they really only need 1.
Well, they said, "Oh, it'd be great to work together." Like, surely if you're job sharing, you're not going to work together.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so he goes back to Griff's house later, and before he gets there, they're discussing this. Because I missed it, you said it was like a Muslim-run clothes shop in town or something, and they're like saying, "Oh yeah, well I reckon that's just a front for some dodgy activity."
Well, they said like
no evidence yet, but they definitely. It
seemed like they were presuming there was sex trafficking or drug dealing going on.
Yeah.
Because God forbid they're just Muslims with a clothes shop.
Anyway, Max comes over. He doesn't hear any of that. He tells them about his job, and they're like really happy that he's managed to get something. But then they hear that it's a Speed Dial, and you can and then the room immediately falls silent. It's like, and you can see they're all sort of thinking, "What? You've got a job in a Pakistani restaurant? Why would you want to work for them?" And also when he says that, "Oh yeah, it was Maria that helped me to get the job," and they were like, "Maria who?" And he's like, "Oh, the Councillor Maria." They're also kind of give each other funny looks there, aren't they? And that kind of ends with that. So I don't know. Were you getting the impression that, are we supposed to think that maybe Griff and his cronies are Maria's trolls here?
They don't like her, but why? That's the question.
I'm trying to remember what all the trolling was now, because obviously at the beginning they were saying that she was an idiot for fighting for the environment, and I think they quite like the environment in this group. But then the most recent comments on her articles was when she was supporting refugees.
Yeah, it's refugee
and there
stuff.
were comments saying that so I think probably they were the ones that were having a go at her for that. But Anyway, that's this story for the week, and I was really pleased with how this has gone. I wish that, you know, the A story of the week did end up being the summer story, and it was a shame because that's been going for so long, and this was something kind of fresh and new, and it felt a little bit different, and I was hoping it'd give it a little bit more screen time, because Monday we got to see a lot of it, but Wednesday and Friday it was just 4 or 5 scenes maybe in the episode, it felt like. But it's early days, but touch wood and everything, I'm feeling quite positive. Great that it's a spider story. We said on the podcast last week, I think, how surprising it is that Spider's story has gone off in this particular direction, because it's certainly nothing that we'd expected, is it? But I'm loving that this character, who I was just thrilled to be having a comeback, is now being put into a story that they're really, really promoting. Paddy Beaver has really, really grown on me over the past 6, 7, 8 months or so. I think that he is more than capable of doing what needs to be done in this story. I think that he's good at playing, you know, the innocent, naive sort of, not really a bad un sort of role that's needed for this, don't you?
Yeah, I agree.
I hope that they don't screw it up. And it's also, this has made Griff much more of an interesting character, because up until this point I'd still been thinking, well, what is his deal? But now we get to know what his deal is. His deal is racism. What are your impressions of it so far, and your hopes and initial thoughts?
I just find it very interesting. I think they've done a very good job setting it up. I'm really intrigued about the things I'm kind of learning, and the kind of coercive nature of what they're doing to Max is very interesting. It's not a question, but the psychology behind it. I've still seen lots of people online being confused about what the link is between racism and environmentalism. And it's a bit frustrating to me, because I wondered the same thing, so I googled it and it was right there. So anybody that still thinks that it's stupid because everyone knows that if you like the environment you could never be a racist, just needs to sort of do a bit of research. It's not,
Yeah,
I don't like the fact that Coronation Street's being, slated because they think they don't know what they're talking about, because there's no link when there is. I just find it very interesting. I think it's going to be uncomfortable viewing. I don't think we're going to like a lot of the things.
I hope so. I want this to be uncomfortable.
I think it's going to be difficult to talk about on the podcast as well. Because again, I feel also that it's very important to point out that I'm aware of the fact that I can think about this and talk about this in a sort of academic kind of a way, because it doesn't affect me. And I'm, talking about racism stuff, and saying, oh, let's just think about why is someone racist? It's irrelevant if you're a person of colour. It doesn't really matter why someone's got this way or how they arrived at this opinion, because it affects you in the same way no matter what, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I get the same way when I talk about misogynistic things and sexism and how women are treated, and we talk about those sort of things. It upsets me, and it really gets under my skin. And so I just want to acknowledge that moving forward, and sort of say that we appreciate that this is the kind of perspective that we're coming from with that. So don't for one minute think we're not aware of the fact that we're kind of ignorant about this, but we're doing the best we can. And in a way, like I said last week, it is kind of something that white people need to talk about and think about more, because the racism doesn't come from people of colour, does it? It's not it's their problem, but they can't solve it because it's coming from us.
Yeah. Although I am fairly ignorant of this issue, as I am most issues that come up on Coronation Street, what's interesting for me is how closely this aligns with this training that I have to do each year. So at the beginning of every year, we have to do this prevent training, it's called, which is where we sit on a computer for half an hour and you get to see these videos of case studies of teenagers who have been kind of unwittingly led down a dark path, and you say, well, whose story would you like to listen about? And then there's a girl who is kind of a Muslim girl who's led into kind of the Muslim extremism kind of groups. And then there's a white boy who is, you know, very much like Max, who we get to hear his story about how he, you know, went to secret clubs. They were
really,
yeah, and you know, he was given literature to read and videos to
more
watch.
About it
and
than I do, though.
yeah, and they made me feel welcome, and then he started making and the actor who's saying the lines that this person in real life went. Explained, it was like saying, oh yeah, and they made me realise that how great our country was and everything, and then you have to click your mouse every time you hear something that's a little bit concerning on the video, and you know, I started they made me feel at home, and then it felt a bit odd at first, but they told me that it was right, and these people are coming in, and why is it fair that they get our jobs, they get the jobs first, and just watching the few episodes that there's been so far this week, I'm already kind of checking the boxes of the things that's been on that training, and I've watched this video like 3 or 4 times now over the years, I think. So I've always wondered, you know, will Coronation Street ever do something like this, because it seems like ripe for soap story. So that just partly because I've got that kind of background knowledge, that just adding to why I'm interested to seeing in where this goes. What do you think is going to happen with Max and Darian at Speed Dial? Because yeah, it was odd how, because I'm sure the last time that we saw Max and Darian together, he was annoyed at him for taking his place at Weatherfield High, and he's spoken about him as well, but he seemed kind of friendly to him in today's scenes. Is it that he's because he's not actually he's not actually racist yet?
I don't think he's put it together yet that he should be mad at him because of the colour of his skin. The thing about humans is that we're primed to do things like that because we look for patterns and we look for people that are different to us and people that are similar to us. So it's such an easy thing for us to fall into.
It was a nice setup to have him in this situation, and it's going to be fairly easy, I guess, for the writers to be able to make Max feel, you know, racist inclined. But I think that I wonder whether, like, is it going to turn out that there is only one job and Darian's the one that gets it?
Well, Darian seems like he's a lot more intelligent and emotionally aware than Max, because the bit where he offered Max some money, he said, "Oh, I know what it's like to try and get a hottie. Here's £5." And then when the girl came over, Darian went, "Oh, thanks, Max, for lending me that money. You did me a real favour." So he was so sweet and intelligent. I wonder if he's going to pick up on Max's inclinations before Max even realises what's happening to him.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was interesting seeing Griff and the gang's reactions to Max working there at Speed Dial as well. And are they going to try and persuade him to leave the job, or are they're just gonna, you know, drip poison in about Alia or Yasmin or whatever?
I can't believe you're working for that kind of people when this is our country. Why should you be taking orders from them? It's all very easy. It's all very easy to imagine how these things would be portrayed.
Anyway, I can't wait to see what happens with this next. I hope that Spider's not going to be sidelined in it, because this is... It feels like, although Spider is quite an important player, it does feel more like this is Max's story, really, isn't it? And as for Peter, it feels like he's almost been kicked out of it already. He's not needed in this story anymore. I don't want it to be like, you know, when we had the Dr. Thorne storyline earlier this year, and at the beginning, originally I was like, oh hooray, it's an Aggie story, and then she was dropped. It was not an Aggie story. I don't want this to not be a Spider story, but I think as long as he's investigating the group and there is that tension between him and Toya, and she's feeling like Spider is picking his mates over her all the time, she's gonna have to find out soon that he's an undercover cop, isn't she?
I just want to say, I think there's some things quite explosive, quite literally, going to be afoot here, because we've heard Spider being told that there's something that's going to cost big lives, and now we've heard them talking about this clothes shop.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to plan an attack on this shop because I think some of them will genuinely believe that they're doing something good. We're saving, because there's the elephant in the room here is the grooming gangs that have been reported on in the press, which are predominantly, I think, Pakistani Muslim men who have preyed upon young white girls, and it's a very big controversial topic, and I can imagine people listening to hearing about things like that and thinking, I'm going to save people, I'm going to stop this from happening, I'm going to stop, who wouldn't want to save people from being raped and trafficked? But unfortunately it fits into a narrative that it leads to incredibly negative consequences. So some of the people might very well believe that there truly is something happening there, but I'm sure Griff knows that there isn't actually anything really going on, and they're probably going to jump on this before they've got any evidence, because there no doubt isn't any that something is happening. And I wonder if they're recruiting Max for some. Yeah, they're kind of fast tracking him.
They're definitely going to be using his audio visual skills, aren't they? I wonder whether the opening of the precinct on Coronation Street, is this Muslim clothes shop going to be one of the shops in the precinct, and is the big debut of this new set on screen where they do a raid on the shop there, or are they going to blow up this thing they've just built? I don't know. They could do.
They can't really, because we'd know about it by now, wouldn't we?
Well, they haven't started filming on it yet. I don't.
But
it's
people
not
walk
ready.
past it every day.
Yeah, they do, but I don't know. It's possible. Let's move on. This is going to be a long street talk, but I don't know whether the next stories are going to be quite.
The first two stories were incredibly controversial and very issues-driven storylines that I'm sure people have lots of different ranges of opinions about, and neither of which I feel really qualified to discuss in any way.
There's only so much that you can say about somebody not fixing a toilet or a roof, isn't there? But before we get to that, Gemma, I'll pass back to you, the Book of John. What's been going on at number 9 this week?
Okay, so we've got this mysterious serialisation about the true story of John Stape and his marriage to the evil Fiz, and they don't know where this information has been leaked from, but by gum they've got to make sure that poor old Hope doesn't get to see it. So on Monday, they're looking at the serialisation that's been in the Gazette, and it's so much detail, I can't believe it. It even says about how Jade faked the bruises on Hope when she came back. And Tyrone goes and asks Brian, can you please stop selling this, because we don't want Hope to see it. And Brian's like, no, mate, I've got to make some money here. I can't just stop selling. Listen, if I stopped selling the Gazette every time one of you lot was in it, I'd never sell another copy, so forget it. So Tyrone buys all of his stock. And then Adam comes over and he's like, "Ooh,
I'll have to read it online now."
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't really believe that Adam reads the paper. He
doesn't
like
read the local paper.
No, I bet he doesn't. I bet he's on the broadsheets online.
With the best will in the world, it will just be moaning about what local
I can't remember, because Spider was reading the paper in the Rovers and reading the paper in the last episode, wasn't he? I can't remember what was on the front of that.
Some dramas about
I'm really
buildings.
I don't know what's going on with the cabin, because we have not seen inside the cabin for months and months.
We haven't seen it since Kathy's gone, really. I mean,
I don't even know whether we saw it. Yeah, it did feature when Kathy was leaving, actually, didn't we? We saw some inside cabin scenes.
Shona got a job there.
Yeah, everyone's just having conversations outside.
Rude.
It's weird.
It's rude. So, Tyrone has been to see Phil. Has he?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't write the article, but he did give him the number of the newspaper writer who wrote the article. For some reason, he knows this. So Tyrone talks to the journalist. He won't tell him his source. So Tyrone has got really paranoid. So he makes a list of all the people that would know about Jade, because that's definitely
very many people.
That's definitely something that they can concretely research. Could it have been Gemma? Could it have been Evelyn? Could it have been Chesney? And then Fiz says a throwaway line of, well, it can't have been Evelyn, because it says here her age is 92, and they wouldn't have got that wrong if she was the source. And Tyrone's like, that reminds me, that sets my brain ticking. So he thinks and thinks, and then he calls Hope down and he says, right, Remember you asked me the other day how old Evelyn was, and I, as a joke, told you she was 92, but you didn't know I was joking. I think you've been leaking this information yourself. And so it all comes out, Hope is the source. And Mad Dog is the person she's been chatting to through an online game. And she has spilled her guts about everything. And obviously this Mad Dog is the journalist. Tyrone can't believe it. Fiz like, oh, it's not your fault, but you shouldn't have said anything. And so they moan about how evil games are, and how poor old Hope has been groomed by some evil journalist. I
know people complain about some news agencies making articles about what people say on Twitter, and I'd like, yeah, it's kind of bad that if you're a journalist, sometimes all you have to do is hang around on Twitter to get things. But are there journalists that hang around in online games just on the off chance that someone's going to leak something juicy?
That's what I do. I just play Minecraft and befriend children. Go, has your dad murdered anybody? Tell me more. Like that. Yeah, it doesn't... I'm not exactly sure how this happens. They haven't mentioned the game, obviously, because they don't want to get sued. It's not a real game. I don't think you're supposed to think too hard about it, but you are perhaps supposed to think, oh, I wonder what my kid's doing on their games.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think Tyrone and Fiz really took that much responsibility for the fact that they weren't policing what their fairly young daughter is doing online.
Well, they would argue that they don't have time, but also I think a lot of parents aren't aware that there are some chat facilities on games that will let people talk to your children that you don't know who they are.
I think Fiz just said, oh, I thought I was talking to your friends. I think they knew that she was chatting online.
Well, that's what I just said, though. Yeah. Let people who aren't...
For strangers.
Yeah.
Well, they should have...
Get some Nintendo games, because it's practically impossible.
I mean, we can say this because we're not parents, but like, I just think parents need to be...
How can you know? How can you know? You can't watch them all the time. This is one of the things that would terrify me if I was a parent.
Yeah.
How can you know what they're... Unless you sit there, and you've got to also let your kid have a sort of amount of privacy at some point.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult.
Parental controls exist for a reason.
But you don't want to be draconian and, cost the kid, but equally you can't have them on the internet just chatting away to journalists. Right. We've all learned now, haven't we? So nobody who's listening will make that mistake, will they? So they speak to Adam, and he says the paper has taken legal advice. They're not mentioning Hope by name. And so I don't think you're going to be able to do anything about it. Sorry. So on Wednesday, serials in the newspaper, it's even more GC today. And it says, and it's like suggesting that Hope's going to be a murderer like her dad. And Fiz is like, oh no, Hope's going to get bullied at school. It's like, she's going to get bullied for being a murderer. I'd be scared of her if I was a kid at school. She's got prime opportunity to bully other people now. She'd be like, it's in black and white here.
Yeah.
You do what? You give me your lollipop or I'll kill you. They go and see Adam again, and he's trying to calm Tyrone down, and then Fiz gets a phone call from the school because Hope's gone missing. So she finds her in Victoria Gardens with Sam because Sam took her out of school because some children were mean to her. And Nick comes over, and he's like, and Fiz is having a go at him, saying, your son took my kid out of school. Nick's like, I don't think so. I don't think anyone could tell Hope what to do.
Nick probably has to prize Sam out of school himself at the end of every day. He's like, no, let me stay.
There's still more books I haven't read. So he says...
I also think that, I don't know whether I would believe that Sam would take her out of school, because he's a real goody two-shoes.
He wouldn't do that. It was a bit weird. I wonder whether it was Hope's idea, but she made Sam
him think it was
his.
Yeah, that's more likely.
Classic. So Nick tells Fiz that Hope has to stay away from Sam. Tyrone finds Fiz. She's upset at home. She says Nick's made her feel like a terrible mum, and Tyrone's mad. He can't control the newspaper and he can't control Hope, but he definitely can go round to Nick's flat and punch him.
His temper.
And punch him in the face.
I wanted him to use his taekwondo moves.
He should have gone, hey-ya, frog!
Yeah, taekwondo is a bit more of a kicky one, isn't it? I think he should have roundhouse kicked him.
Just doofed him right into the
into the counter in the middle of the flat, yeah.
So stay away from
Tyrone's just like really mad after Jack punched him last week, and he's like, I'm going to punch someone that's taller than me now. So I really am a man. Yeah. When they were at the Taekwondo class, wasn't it Jack or someone
Jack.
that
we didn't see it.
That laid Tyrone out last week, allegedly?
He says, stay away from Fiz and stay away from my family or you'll regret it. And then Nick tells Sam, it's not your fault, stay away from Hope and I'm confiscating your walkie-talkie. Adam comes to number 9 later and he says, I've been to the Gazette, I've told them off, they won't be serialising anymore, but it's too late to stop the book from being published. So Fiz says, thank you. Tyrone comes home and he looks all concerned, but he won't say why. Then Leanne comes round and has a go. Fiz is shocked to hear what Tyrone has done. And then Leanne basically tells them if they do anything like that again, then she's going to have them for GBH. And she leaves. And Fiz says, well done, Tyrone. You may just have ruined Hope and Sam's friendship. And then Tyrone's like, I'm not going to apologise for defending my family. Friday. Tyrone tells Hope that she's not allowed to hang out with Sam at school, and so she refuses to go in because she doesn't have any friends. And Fiz says, you need to sort things out with Nick. Tyrone tries to speak to Nick, but he's not in the mood, and Tyrone is saying, I've spoken to Mrs. Crawshaw about all of this. So he's like, no.
Nick says he's spoken to Crawshaw.
I thought I said that.
No, I thought you said Tyrone is saying, you're punishing my daughter for no, I can't remember what he said.
No,
doesn't
that's
matter.
why I skipped over it because I didn't understand what you wrote. Sam and Hope have a sneaky meet up at the school corridor, and she's surprised to hear that Tyrone has punched her dad's punched Nick. Fiz and Tyrone go to the pub, and he says, I didn't tell Hope about that, but now we know she knows. Adam meets up with them later and says they've got grounds for an injunction on privacy injunction, and Hope comes home and she's mad at Tyrone for hitting Nick, and then she can't see Sam anymore. Then she lets it slip that she's not the only one who's done something bad, also Sam has. So they discover then that he's still writing to Harvey, so Fiz tells Nick. Nick confronts Sam. Sam says, sorry, I'm not sorry I lied, but I'm not sorry that I wrote the letters. And Nick says, nope, it's final, you're not writing anymore at all. And so Sam walks out on him. Then when they have, at the State House, they have dinner. Hope's moping about. Tyrone says, we're going to stop this book coming out. Sorry, the fireworks
really loud fireworks in the background.
Oh no, we're missing them. Tyrone says, we're doing everything we can to stop the book coming out. And Hope kind of cheers up. And she's got a little sausage on her plate that's a frowny face. And then she turns it upside down. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Where are you going? Gemma's looking out the window, see if she can see any fireworks or anything going on. I was not. Is there anything there? Any fireworks for our podcast listeners? Can you describe them? No, too late. We'll go out in a minute and have a look. Maybe we'll have a little break. So I didn't realise last week, even though it was blatantly obvious now I come to think about it, that Hope had been the one feeding the information to...
Well, I thought the mystery was, who is she talking to? Is it Jade or...
Yeah.
But no, it's just a journalist, so of course that was a bit obvious, wasn't it?
It was obvious, but I didn't get it. I don't know whether... Did Hope realise what she was doing? I guess she just thought it was, a person, didn't she?
Well, it was a person.
It was, she just thought it was...
A friend.
A mate, but... And I guess she is too young and innocent to realise that probably some of the questions that she was being asked...
Well, I'm sure they were sneaky too.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. Did you enjoy this?
I want to hear the nitty gritty. I feel like I thought this was going to be more juicy, but I think the thing is, we haven't seen Hope being confronted. We haven't seen any of the fallout. We've just been told about it. So it doesn't feel like that significant or bad.
And I'm still saying, I was thinking, like I said before, that I'm a bit fed up with them going over the same ground of old John Stape. He was a serial killer. That means that Hope's going to be evil. It just feels like they're drawing from the same well again. And it's getting a little bit meta, really.
I like it.
It's a bit fourth wall breaky. It's like, hey, what was it? But
more murders.
And I didn't like Tyrone punching Nick as well. It felt, although he had been going to these classes.
What did he punch him
for making Fiz upset.
That's pathetic, really, isn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't think he's normally quite so fast with his fists, but maybe he's like, well, I've been doing my taekwondo recently, so violence is actually okay.
Let me show you my moves.
That's what they teach you at those. So, is what I'm saying about this story. It's alright, I like the characters, but I'm just not as big a Hope fan as everyone else is, so that's why it's not really gelling with me quite so much.
Yep.
Fiddler on the Roof story is next. Oh my gosh, what is going on with this story? I can't believe that there was 3 days worth of this story. Something's gone wrong somewhere, hasn't it? Something has gone dreadfully wrong with this story over the year.
I was not impressed with this. I thought some of the scenes were weird. Like, they felt really, really clunky. I thought some of the acting was not great. And
this is just like the filleriest filler story there's ever been.
No,
and it's been going on for months. I'm not
feeling it, and also, I feel like it's ruining Tracy's character. Like, she's turned into a bit of an idiot. She used to be manipulative and sly, and out for herself, but she also had a soft heart when it came to certain very specific things. But this one, she's just coming across as like a buffoon.
Well, no, I don't think I wouldn't say I'm getting buffoon vibes.
Well, she thinks she's getting one over on people, and then she keeps realising that she's the one that's been made a mug of.
I just think that they're just making her being angry and shouty a lot. There's no substance to this story, but as I say, there's clearly something gone wrong somewhere. I cannot believe this was ever supposed to be going on at this point still.
No.
Simon Gregson is mysteriously absent from the show. They've said that he's gone to stay with Andy.
The character of Steve.
The character of Steve has gone to stay with Andy, and Andy is, as always, the very convenient family member abroad that any of the McDonald's can go to stay with. They said today that he's also apparently sprained his ankle chasing a mugger down the street or something. So I do not know what's going on here, but it's a mess.
Maybe he's dressed up as Sue Cleaver and he's joining the jungle.
Maybe he's dressed up as something because he's doing that drag thing tonight, isn't he? The Queen's for a night on ITV. Anyway, so on Monday we have Arnie the roofer who comes back to the street to check on Steve, but yes, he's in Spain. Apparently, it turns out that Arnie had a mini stroke, and that's what had to stop him working all those months ago. He's been in hospital, he's had the phone taken off of him, and he's just not been able to contact anyone since then. And Tracy comes out and
him because he's too stressed out.
Yeah, it's silly. And Tracy comes out and is like, I don't believe that for a moment. You get yourself up on the roof and get fixing. Ed's there, blind twitching, isn't he, at number 3, and he comes out with Aggie and saying, oh, what you do? You get up there, you fix this roof straight away. Oh, the scaffolding's been here for so long. So later on, the main drama of the week revolves around Tracy's toilet, which has been... So she says something like, oh, the toilet's been ruined by a massive crack. That's like, I thought she was going to say something else there. So a toilet has been broken by one of the builders apparently. And
it's a massive crack.
By the drama for the week is, where are they going to go to the toilets? They don't try and fix it themselves. They don't try and get any other plumbers to come out and fix it. They just string this out for three days worth. I did say on last week's podcast, I hope they hurry up and get this storyline sorted, and I guess I got what I wanted, but I don't know. Anyway, so Tracy calls in Arnie and said, who used the loo last, because they've broken it actually, and he says, oh, I'm terribly sorry, madam, I'm mortified. If one of my dads does it, I'll sort out a replacement as soon as I can. And Tracy's like, that was very easy. However, she has egg on her face later on, and she gets a taste of rough justice, if you'll pardon the pun, when the builders deliver a portaloo outside her home, blocking the road even more, which I don't think that you can legally just dump a loo in the middle of a public highway for a joke. No,
they put a red barrier around it. So
does that make it okay?
It's like you can park anywhere you want if you put your hazard lights on.
Anyway, so now that everybody at number 1, the million people that live there, have got to go outside if they want the loo, just like back in the olden days. And I was wrong on the podcast last week when I was listing out all the people who are living there at the moment, because apparently, and very conveniently, Jacob and Amy are house sitting, which is why Daniel is able to get into their room with Daisy when he had his little domestic problems last week. So Wednesday's episode starts with people fighting over the toilets or something, and then Arnie comes round again and says to Daniel, oh, this roof is worse than I thought. You need to extend the job to cover the back as well. We need to put some scaffolds in, or some scaff as he called it. That's technical, that's what they call it in the trade. We need to get some scaffolding out the back ASAP. You just need to give us the go-ahead. And Daniel's like, well, I'm not really the decision maker, but I want things sorted. So go on then, put some scaffolding around the back of the house.
Wasn't he talking about flashing as well?
Flashing, yes. whatever that is. I don't know. I'm with Daniel here. I don't know what it is, but it's very important apparently. Later on, Tracy's trying to get hold of Arnie on the phone again, saying hurry up and finish the job because he's bogged off again. Ed's come round there annoyed that this extra scaff has meant that he's pretty much trapped in his house because there's he can't get out the back door. There's no room outside the front door. Get this sorted and quick, says Ed. Daniel. So everything's going wrong there. Later on, Arnie has texted Tracy saying, I'm going to be back when we get a run of good weather. So she is absolutely fuming and leaves a message for Steve on the phone saying, I'm going nuts here and this is all your fault. Why the hell aren't you coming back from Spain yet? Friday's episode, Jacob and Amy get back. They're somewhat surprised to hear that Daniel and David have moved into their room. Where are they supposed to sleep then? So they're going to have to find somewhere else. And this is what leads into them deciding to share a house with Summer and Aaron at the end of the episode. So Tracy tells somebody, I've said Summer here, but it clearly isn't, Daniel it must be, that he can deal with Arnie from now on. He's the one that caused this problem. So he goes into the pub to try and sort this out. Arnie's very handily there having a drink, and Daniel says to him, look, Tracy's going to pay you up front. And Tracy says, just so when Arnie then goes back to number one to say this, Tracy's like, no way, I'm not doing this. I'm not paying you up front. You need to do this toilet fixing for free, to be honest, seeing as how it was one of your lads that broke it. He says no way, walks off. So Arnie, Adam then tells Daniel that you need to try a different tack with Arnie. You need to try and be a bit matey with him and get him on your side. So Daniel goes up to him and says, look, yeah, I know that Tracy can be a bit of hard work and everything, but we really need this root fixing, mate. And Arnie says, nope, not doing anything until I get payment. Adam, when Daniel goes off to the loo, Adam says, oh, you don't want to get on Tracy Barlow's bad side. And then it transpires that Arnie has gone off to do a bit of voggling, found out what a cold-blooded killer that Tracy Barlow really is. And at the end of the episode, he comes round and says, oh, well, I'll go and fix the loo straight away. And Daniel's kind of left thinking that his matey chat with this guy worked, but it was clearly Arnie is terrified that he's going to meet the same sticky end as one Charlie Stubbs. So there we go. Gemma, did you love this storyline this week?
No. A few points I said to you, I don't care. It is the sort of silly thing that it feels like Coronation Street is always being told it needs to do more of.
It's not light-hearted and fun.
The thing is, can I just say, it's also not character development. A lot of the time, the things that were interesting in Coronation Street in the old days, and I, feel like I can speak to that now. I've seen a lot of the old episodes and enjoyed them. It was sort of gentle things that kind of, teased out what people are really like and how they spoke to each other, and just things that, like, ordering a pint or whatever, and it's just little bits, character moments that let us see into their lives and make them likeable and like real people to us. But even this, it felt like Tracy's had a personality transplant here. I feel like these lines were probably written for Steve. I don't know. It just feels like everything's been rewritten. I don't know what's supposed to be entertaining about this.
And it's
not funny. It's not. It doesn't tell me anything about anybody, and it's not.
And it doesn't feel like there's an end in sight either. Because he's fixed the toilet, but is he going to go and fix the roof now? I don't know. Just bloody
fix the goddamn roof, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Nothing's happened that's interesting.
No, I didn't enjoy that Tracy's murder is being used for lols again.
A lot of people were not like that.
No. It was just ridiculous, this story, honestly. Utterly silly.
It wasn't ridiculous, it just felt ill-advised.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of it, but I'm not getting anything. It just feels like a waste of time.
And for it to happen to the Barlows as well, who are actually a quite decent family unit.
Yeah, and it also felt like there was no cohesive family experience here. There was no scene where, like, there could have been a great scene where everyone sat around the front room and they were all trying to pretend that they didn't mind they had to go to the toilet outside. Or, a moment where they all dashed off en masse to get to the loo at once.
Well, they had a bit of a squabble between two of them at the beginning of Wednesday's episode.
You know what I mean, though? I felt like there was no... This could have been a story that bonded them in a sort of community way against adversity, that would have made them more interesting. You know, because Daisy's just moved into this house. Is Daisy mad? Because if I moved in with my boyfriend and then I instantly became homeless and then I had to move in with his granddad and his sister and there was no toilet within the first 2 weeks, I think I'd find somewhere else to live. Why are they living there? Where's the kid? How are they managing to raise a small child?
Yeah, there's been no sign of Bertie this week. There's been barely any sign of Daisy. Ken, Daniel's dad, is absent. Is he just rehearsing his play somewhere?
No doubt he's up and down in having a wee all night long.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing concrete or human or relatable or believable about any of this, and it could have easily been turned into something like that. As it was, it just felt like a weird, soulless time filler.
Almost had me craving for summer scenes when these came on, and I wouldn't normally say that for anything related to the Barlows because I think they're all great, but this is just a massive misfire, really.
Yep.
Finally, Gemma, another bit of a filler that really didn't seem to go anywhere and left me fairly cold was this Law fully wedded storyline. So, what's going on with Sean and Lawrence this week?
Oh no, there's a drama, but it's sort of over by the end of the week, isn't it?
Kind of, but not.
Monday, Lawrence, Sean and Max want to go to the cinema to see a Halloween film, and Todd gets asked to take a photo. He's in a bit of a rush, and he goes to take the photo, and then remember what happened this time, however many years ago, memory popped up.
Does that really sort of thing happen on non-iPhones? That you're just trying to take a photo and a massive screen-filling pop-up comes up saying this happened this time of year? I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but
do you remember when you got married on Halloween, like Les and Scylla?
I will take my hat off to this woman who may or may not be dead. That she is a good sport to get to have a wedding on Halloween. That's brilliant. Although, don't ruin Halloween for me and expect me to buy you an anniversary gift because that's my day, not your day. Okay. So, of course, the shocker here is that Lawrence has got married. He's married to a woman.
What?
And so they get back from this spectacular night out that probably Toya's sad that she missed out on. And Sean notices that Todd's looking at them and thinks he's jealous, and Todd says, "No way. Do you know that Todd's been married to a woman?"
Lawrence.
What did I say?
You said, "Did you know that Todd's been married?"
Lawrence has been married to a woman.
Yeah.
And if he hasn't told you, he's probably still married to her. On Wednesday, Sean has still not brought this up with Lawrence, but he's mad at Todd. And he tries to find out from Lawrence whether he...
I did enjoy that scene.
He tries to see how gay Lawrence is. Does he like any women? Does he fancy Audrey Hepburn? And Lawrence is like, yeah, she's beautiful. And then Sean was like, yeah, but would you shag her though? Would you give her one? Yeah. You know, that's what he's getting at, isn't he? He's like, is there anyone you'd shag who's a woman? Would you ever shag a woman?
Yes, I found that very funny.
It was really funny.
Being like mega unsubtle about it.
I thought it was great. Lawrence is like, wow, this is awkward.
I need to go to the toilet. Okay. I'll have a think about it.
I'll have a think and see what I can thrash out in the privacy of the cubicle.
He doesn't go to the toilet for long, does he? He probably goes in there and finds the whole of the Barlow clan using up all the stalls, so he's like, I'm going to come back later.
So he comes back, and Sean and Glenda are trying to get into his phone. And Sean admits it, so Lawrence gets annoyed and leaves.
I thought this was going to be the second scene of the in as many weeks of somebody able to guess someone else's phone password. Yeah. And Glenda's like, oh, we love steps. Try 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, she was funny. I loved her. So Sean tells Glenda what Todd told him that he saw on Lawrence's phone. And Glenda's like, who cares?
We've all got a
Anything
past.
could have happened. I mean, why would you assume that they're still... Why would this come up? Just ask him. So Lawrence comes back to the pub and Sean tells Lawrence what Todd saw. And Lawrence says, that's Lindsay. I did get married to her. She died 8 years ago. She was the only woman I've ever fallen in love with and ever slept with. And before that, it's only ever been men. I was going to tell you when the time was right, but it obviously wasn't. And... Sean apologises and Lawrence accepts it, but he says, I don't think I can ever forgive you. and he leaves Sean alone.
Oh.
Why didn't Sean say, I knew someone like that, Marcus, he really loved Maria.
Well, also, way back when, Sean was going out with, I don't know whether this was when you were watching or not, he was going out with somebody called Sonny, who was also dating Michelle or something. I've got very murky memories of there being this other bisexual character in it. And Michelle didn't realise that he also liked men, or I can't remember. So Sean, this isn't the first time that he's been in this exact same situation. Also, so no wonder he's a bit wary.
For gay men and women of a certain age, it will be of no surprise that somebody has a past in which they had dated members of the opposite sex, because a lot of them were either in the closet or they didn't realise that they were gay.
Yeah.
Sean is of the generation where you would have hidden that you were gay, or it would have been very common to not have come out.
Yeah.
Everything's changed very rapidly, but Sean and Lawrence, this is not going to be unusual. And even for people now, you don't necessarily need to know everything about yourself right out of the gate. You can learn as you go, for goodness sake. Although getting married is sort of a bit of a learning curve, isn't
do you think that Sean would automatically be switched off by knowing that someone was bi? I mean, if it hadn't come up, is Sean only want to go out with people who aren't completely gay?
Again, this is the Coronation Street's bi erasure, in that Lawrence is definitely not bi. Very clear about the fact he only ever liked one woman, which I think is, again, I don't know if Coronation Street's aware of how they depict bisexual people, but it's quite, I wish that they would just have somebody that was out and bi and proud and it was not a problem, because it always feels as though there are loads of bisexual people on Coronation Street, but none of them will say that they're bisexual.
Well, I think...
And I know that we've had discussions about labels and stuff, but at the same time, there are people that are proud and unbothered about being bisexual. So why can't they have somebody on the show that represents them? Why is everybody who is bisexual just, I don't want to put a label on it, I just love who I love?
Like Asher and Nina.
It's fine to be either.
Yeah.
But where's the representation for people? There should be people on the show who come out and say I'm bisexual and it's fine, because that exists in real life.
I was a bit disappointed that there wasn't a longer debate or discussion or whatever you want to call it between Lawrence and Sean about this, because he kind of says, yeah, she was the only one. I'm disappointed that you tried to look in my phone, and then he disappeared off and we didn't see him at all.
I think he's
Friday,
just basically said, you've lost my trust, that's it.
I guess we'll have it at some point.
Which I think, he's got a boundary and Sean's broken it.
Yeah.
Friday, Glenda cannot believe that Sean is trying to text Lawrence to apologise, and she tells him he needs to do something a bit bigger and more mature, and he should go to the dentist and refuse to leave until he gets a kiss. But it doesn't work. Mature. So he's going to keep texting him, and if he doesn't reply, then Sean says he will give up. And later on, Dylan is refusing to go to a fireworks display with Sean until he gets bribed with 20 quid. And then it turns out that the only reason that Sean wants to go to this display is that it's near Lawrence's house, and he wants to be near him in case he gets a text. And then they come back, and there was nothing, no reply.
Yeah, it felt like today's episode was a little bit of a nothing happening.
I mean, also,
what?
Like, I just feel like this is a big nothing.
I don't think we've known enough about Lawrence to care about this. I mean, we've had 20 years to get sympathy for Sean. I think even for a lot of viewers, they haven't been able to get that. But I do kind of feel bad for Sean. But yeah, Lawrence, I like. Who is he? And he is just the latest in a string of men for Sean that has been severely underdeveloped. And it's like, whatever.
I just find it a bit baffling, because it's like, oh no, he's married to a lady one time. Oh, but it was just his wife. The end. It's like, yeah, gay men...
Could have strung that mystery out a little bit longer.
Like, it's not... Is it... It wasn't really a scandal, and it wasn't drawn out enough for it to be that significant. It was just like, oh yeah, that's my wife. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about here, is there? Apart from maybe Glenda having to go on Mary's facial thing, which
was great.
Somewhat amusing. A weird scene of her attacking Sean with it, and the camera was looking at him from her point of view. But yeah, maybe more will come of this. Maybe
I just feel like nothing. It's not. It's because the characters weren't bothered. That's the trouble. The characters didn't seem to be bothered either.
Sean was properly bothered.
Sean was like, oh, how come there's a secret? And then he explained, and Sean was like, makes sense. You know? And then Lawrence was like, wow, I'm not okay with this, so I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
And then we didn't see him overreact. We didn't see Sean overreact. We literally just got, drama, mystery. Two-day long mystery that then was resolved.
Sean overreacted a little bit, and he went to try and get some sympathy from Glenda, didn't he? And she was the one that was saying, well, don't worry about it. I just feel like,
yeah, but can you see what I'm saying at all?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Anyway, maybe more of that will happen.
I don't feel like there's any... I don't feel like it's the end of Lawrence and Sean.
No, nor do I.
Which is probably why I'm not... I find it I'm a bit nonplussed, to be honest.
Yeah. He'll either come back or he won't. Either way, whatever.
Yeah, again, it's sort of important that you care about them as a couple.
Yeah,
and I don't.
I enjoyed Frank earlier this year a lot more than Lawrence.
Well, I bet you.
Frank turned out to be a nasty piece of work.
Can I also say I think Frank would make a very good racist.
Oh, you would, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Right.
Bring him back.
Scores for this week then, Gemma. So I mean. The Max stuff absolutely saved this week for me. I thought that Monday's episode was actually a pretty, fairly strong start to the week, but then it just kind of petered along for Wednesday and Fridays. But because of that Max story, and the summer one was somewhat interesting. It wasn't like, if the whole week had been Ruth stuff or Lawrence, then that would have been a bit of a problem, but at least the summer one somewhat kept me interested, and we got to see Gaddis as well. I think I'm going to go with...
I can't hate Summer. I can't hate her. I just feel sorry for her.
And I enjoyed the Halloween stuff on Monday as well. I am going to go 3 hours that Ed spends hogging the bathroom every day out of 5. And my character of the week is... I think it's probably Max. I mean, I'm going between Max and Spider and Gaddis, obviously, who was just wonderful.
Fantastic.
But I can't give it to Gaddis.
No.
So,
you can if you want.
No.
I might give it to...
Spider was good because he was, nice and supportive of Max.
I'm going to give it to the problematic crusader. Because... You know what I say? Why can't we be proud of our heritage? What's wrong with being a crusader? What's wrong with crusading around other people's countries and showing them what the right way to flush a toilet is?
Do you have an actual character of the week? No, I don't have an answer.
You can't explain it.
No.
We should be allowed to dress up as schools.
Go on, give me a proper character of the week.
In fact, it's racist if we're not allowed to.
Proper character of the week, Gemma, I demand it.
Okay, proper character of the week is going to be Max, like you. I think he's great. I think I'm fascinated to see where this is going. I really hope that they are brave. But I know that they're going to get crap for it either way. So I think they just hold your nose and go for it, because you're going to get stick if you do it full bore or not. Yeah, so you might as well
do it.
Be hung for a lamb.
I hope that it draws the Platts into it, and this becomes like a proper big Platt story that we haven't had for years as well. But with Shona soon to be going off maternity-wise.
I think Shona's going to have to go and check herself into a clinic for a little bit to get over the stress.
Yeah, maybe.
Take her phone off her because she's had a mini stroke.
Okay, so double Max. What was your score? You haven't given it a score. I'll go on then.
3 little monkey nuts in Summer's womb. And tell you what, wouldn't that solve all the problems?
If it was just a nut.
Esther and Mike can have one. Summer and Aaron can have one. And Toya and Spider can have one.
Right, that'll do for Street Talk.